Chief Executive Officer of the Business and Financial Times, Dr. Godwin Akoi. A round of applause as he joins us with the opening remarks. Let's make it louder a bit. Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister of State, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, Dr. Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, Mr. Awuno, MD for BOST, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow change makers, and viewers joining us via Zoom. Welcome to BNFT's Environmental Sustainability Summit, focusing today on plastic pollution in Ghana, challenges, solutions, and a path forward. It is my pleasure to kick off this vital conversation. Personally, usually on Saturdays, from time to time, I'll visit the beach at Jamestown to buy fish. On most occasions than not, you find heaps of plastic waste on the beach. Every inch of the beach has huge waste of plastics. And it is something that is really bothering. So this event is so crucial to all of us, and especially myself, because I see what is going on. And especially last year, I had the opportunity to sit by Professor Gordon, and he told me something that was really, really not interesting, because it was scary. So he said there was a research done outside the country, and they saw microplastic in the testicles of those who were, examined. So thinking about this, I was like, so our productive organs and fluids have plastics in there, microplastics. So what children are we giving birth to? Think about it. That's how scary it is. Plastic is ubiquitous in Ghana, from the sachet water to parking. And it possesses serious environmental challenges. Ghana generates about 840,000 tons of plastic waste annually. Yet only 9 to 10% of that waste is successfully collected and recycled. Approximately 9% still leak into the oceans. That is what I saw. This plastic threat clogs our drainage systems, leading to severe flooding, as we had last 2 years, 2023, the floods of Accra. It damages fisheries and disrupts tourism, costing Ghana an estimated $100 million annually. So what are some of the challenges that we see around? According to my research, recovery of PET is a mouthful. I wouldn't mention what PET is, but it is plastic bottles that we use for mineral water and all that, the soft drinks that we drink. Merely about 10.3% is recovered. While when we talk about the micron plastics, the the one we put everything in, the very, very thin ones, almost nothing is recovered. So all these go into the environment to clog our gutters, and we all know that plastic is not degradable. Drain blockage and flooding, which we all know, and then health and ecosystem impact. Microplastic, as I said before, contamination infiltrates our water systems and marine life, posing long-term health risks. So what are we doing as a country? Our national plastics innovators like turning waste into bags and school supplies. So I took some time to research on our sponsors, what they are doing in terms of environmental sustainability. So Access Bank launched in 2023, October. Access Bank, in partnership with environmental and Kumasi Compost Plant, sought plastics into a large scale. And then the Zoom Lion Foundation's Zero Waste Initiative. In 2020, they supplied Sunyani with containers, tricycles. Tricycles, and partnered. Over 500,000 litter bins have been distributed. And the list goes on and on. Panelists and all of us to proffer solutions to the challenges we face when it comes to plastic pollution. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing and turning data, I thank you all for joining this critical conversation. Together, we can lead Ghana towards a cleaner, more sustainable tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Let us use this summit to set actionable targets and drive tangible change. The Honorable Minister is here. So whatever we want him to hear, he's here to listen. Let's proffer solutions to our challenges in our environment. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akwe. A round of applause for him. Thank you for setting the tone for today's discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, we would have our next speaker. Just a moment. So next, we'll hear from Acting Director of the Human Settlement Unit at the Environmental Protection Agency. If he is here, a round of applause as we welcome Mr. Hope Lomote for a brief remark as well. Please, let's clap a bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, or other protocol observed. Environmental Protection Authority has also done a lot. As I said in my statement when we were doing the Protection Act 2025 at 1124, we have oversight responsibility for everything concerning the environment. It's no more Environmental Protection Agency Act or Environmental Protection BFT. We are all rallying behind this to find a solution to end plastic waste in Ghana. Thank you. The doc was talking about plastic, and other institutions have also done a lot concerning plastic management. When you talk of plastic, at times we get confused. So thank God it's going to be a panel discussion, and a lot of things will come over so that we put things in perspective and we rally behind all this so that we find a lasting solution to end plastic. Things like rubber is not plastic. Car tire is not a plastic, and other things will come during the discussion, and we'll see how we are driving this vehicle towards a successful end. EPA, for that matter, we are doing a lot in preparing to the ban of plastic in Ghana. But we are saying that when we say plastic, we cannot do away with plastic. in general. So after the ban, after all the directives that are moving on, we may be seeing certain things that are plastic. However, they are good and they are there to serve a purpose. The problematic ones and the single use are the challenges now. So let's look at it critically and see how best we can find lasting solution to problematic and single-use plastics. Plastic came to serve a purpose. The days of a major that we were all drinking from one cup hadn't been today. Disease outbreak would have been so serious. Thank God it came to serve a purpose. But we all agree that we have reached a place where we've seen that it's creating more harm now than the good that we intended it for. So how do we go about it? Doc talked about linear economy, where we just take the plastic, we use it, and we dump it. We are shifting from linear economy, heading towards circular economy, whereby you can only manufacture plastic that can be recycled. Problematic plastic that cannot be recycled will never be tolerated to be part of the economy. So this plastic that can only be recycled are the only one that can be manufactured, use, reuse, and recycle, that it can still be in the economy, serving its purpose. So as we gather this morning, it is my joy to be part of this discussion, to also listen and make the inputs that we are supposed to do. EPA, for that matter, we have come out with some of the strategies teased out from the 2020 National Plastic Management Policy that has already been established. We have a lot of strategies that we are implementing. We have started engaging the manufacturers and other sectors already so that we prepare their mind, because any moment from now, there can be a ban on plastic. However, when they ban the plastic today, we will still have to find a way to manage those that are in the system. So therefore, we are working with sectors and other individuals so that we find how we can go about it, even before the pronouncement of the ban. The engagements are ongoing. It's not a palatable engagement anyway, but that is the only thing that we can do now to save the environment and also to save public health. Thank you for the opportunity to give a little that EPA is doing. During the discussion, we'll continue and we'll hear more from EPA. Thank you.
Thank you. Applause for him, ladies and gentlemen. And thanks to EPA for what they are doing in line with the circular economy. So I must say that when he mentioned the ban, the minister doing his vetting mentioned something. I gave a response that I might say stayed with me till now. He mentioned that before we could ban plastic, we would need a sustainable alternative. And so we could say today's conference or discussion is in line with that, for us to find a sustainable alternative. Allow me to briefly acknowledge our sponsors. So this year's Environmental Sustainability Forum or Summit is organized by the Business and Financial Times with support from Access Bank, BOST, the Bank Hospital, Unilever, Jospon, HR Certification Center, and World Vision. I'll mention our media partners also as we go on. But ladies and gentlemen, to our next remark before our keynote from the minister, with a round of applause, help me invite Mr. Apeji Awuno, Managing Director of the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company, for a brief remarks. A round of applause for him as he joins us. Let's keep clapping. They are one of the sponsors for this year's Environmental Sustainability Summit. Thank you.
Good morning. Oh, please, are we alive? Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm sure some of you are wondering whether this is Afechi. I want to apologize on his behalf. He was actually here with us, but he had a call to attend to a very equally important assignment, and so he extends his apologies to all of us here. So I'll deliver the remarks on his behalf. My name is Atu Emisa Wilson. I'm the General Manager for Corporate Planning and Communication of BOST. And Honorable Minister Dr. Murtala Mohammed, Minister for Environment and Science and Technology. And I also want to acknowledge Dr. Gordon Akwe, CEO of BNFT, for the opportunity to be part of today's engagement. It's a great honor today to be part of this. And on behalf of the board, the MD, management, and staff of BOST, we want to express our profound appreciation for the invitation to be part of this timely conversation. I believe my colleague from EPA has spoken extensively on the impact of plastic waste in Ghana and how we can ensure that we have a sustainable future for all of us. Let me commend BNFT for partnering with all the organizations and all those who are present here, academia, for being champions of dealing with the menace of public waste in Ghana. I think the MC mentioned the context in terms of the volume of plastic waste that we produce in this country. And we all agree that we have to step up and deal with it as effectively as we can. Otherwise, it would affect all of us and the generations yet unborn. In fact, what you said, Doc, about the research that found plastic waste in certain parts of the body, it got me thinking. I don't know if I was the only one who was thinking, but I believe all of us would definitely be worried if these plastic wastes are found within our bodies. So it's important that we end the menace, and we must have a multi-purpose approach towards ending this. It's important that we change our behaviors in terms of how we deal with plastic, and my brother from EPA has mentioned that during the discussions, a lot of these things will come to the fore. At BOST, we've also done a few things. One of the key things that we've done as part of the transition is to establish a green transition department that would focus on ensuring that we deal largely, in addition to our current products that we deal with, to focus towards cleaner energies as part of ensuring sustainability for all of us as a country and as a people. And one of the key things that we've also done is, as part of our depot upgrade, we're looking at also solarizing all our facilities so that we can reduce our carbon footprint, also to ensure that we do the work that we do in a very sustainable manner. We're looking also to ensure that in our depots, we minimize the use of single plastics, and also to segregate our waste so that whenever we generate plastic waste, we'll be able to isolate it and work in partnership with the companies that recycle this waste so that together we'll be able to create a very safe and secure future for ourselves and for our children as well. So, as we've gathered here today, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the call to end plastic waste is not a call for government alone, and I'm grateful that BNFT is leading this charge. It's a call to all of us as individuals, as institutions, as corporate bodies, policymakers, civil societies, and particularly our academia, because we would have to learn a lot of these things from schools so that it becomes part of us. And if we want to have a sustainable future for all of us must contribute. And I'm glad to say that at BOST, we are also giving a better Ghana. And so I would encourage all of us who have gathered here this morning to be part of the conversation. Let's ask the right questions. Let's make the right contributions. Let's help government to formulate the right policies. And in addition to that, let's help government to be able to execute all the strategies and plans that have been put in place. So on behalf of BOST, I would want to extend our appreciation, and I want to thank all of you for the opportunity. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. And indeed, in curbing plastic waste, it's not only one, it's not for government, it's for all of us, in as much as it affects all of us. So thank you very much for reiterating the need for behavior change. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is the Chief Comrade at the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. And I might say that I cover the ministry, and so I know a bit of what they are doing and how they prioritize circular economy. I see the minister walking towards me, and so with a round of applause, let's welcome the minister for his speech. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Doctor, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My presence here is indeed an honor, and at the same time a source of overwhelming pleasure. It is so because I think that opportunities such as this are not common, where you have the private sector and other civil society organizations, see the need to assist government in fighting a challenge that confronts us collectively. So I am highly honored that this opportunity is created for me to share our perspective as a government to the generality of the people of this country. Except to say that my good friend from EPA was making pronouncements on policy issues. That is not EPA's calling. On policy issues, it is the calling of the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. And when my sister said that when I was being vetted, I did indicate that yes, as a response to a question that was put to me, whether government intends to ban plastic, the use of plastic materials in Ghana. And I don't know whether I was being politically correct, but I think that I was a realist under that circumstance, that you don't just ban because you are dealing with people. You need to ensure that the necessary alternatives are provided after which you ban. Because you go ahead and ban either Zambia or Botswana, that his countrymen were asking him, why can't you behave like Captain Traore? Why can't you demand that certain things be done? And he said, Captain Traore is a military leader. He can come out and instruct that ABCD be done. For example, he can say that let's ban plastic waste, and it is banned. That for me, as a democratically elected president, by the time they finish even at the committee level, it is brought to the chamber for another 1 year. By the time you finish even agreeing with it, I would have been voted out of power. And that has been the challenge in terms of some of the policy interventions. Some countries have actually done that, and I think that we need to hasten slowly. If you ask me, my gut feeling is that if we can ban it immediately, let's do that, taking into consideration the consequences of it to our lives. Every human being has something, and it is a danger to us, but you are dealing with people. I had a meeting with UNDP, and then when we met, a staff at UNDP told me something that was interesting. She said, I have been buying cocoa from one cocoa seller just around UNDP for 2 years now. Anytime I come to buy the cocoa, she fetch the cocoa, they tie it in this my own container, pour it into that container I have. Now she always insists, let me put it in the rubber when you go and then you pour it in the container. I mean, that is the level of the challenges that are confronting us. I'm not here to lament, but I'll provide what the ministry is doing so far to ensure that we are able to overcome this insulbeg. On that basis, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed policymakers, friends from the media, and civil society organization, we gather under the theme that resonates deeply with Ghana national aspirations and the core mandate of the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, ending plastic waste in Ghana, a sustainable future for all. And I don't think that we could have gotten a better theme than this. The keynote address, which I am asked as the humble servant of the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology to deliver, would focus on some of the things we are doing. I'll begin by looking at the challenges that confront us collectively. Ghana generates approximately, and I was telling Doctor, that we have moved beyond 840,000 tons to 1.1 million tons of plastic waste each year. So that is alarming. Shockingly, over 50% of this remains uncollected. So the 1.1 million tons, over 50%, that is over 500,000 tons or even 600, remain uncollected. And just about 9% is recycled. So if we are not able to collect over 50%, and even the one we have collected, just 9% of it that we're able to recycled, the consequences are dire. Clogged drains and floods in our cities, plastic-laden fishing. So the fish you and I eat, those of us who love eating fish, we eat a lot of plastics unknowingly. Public health risk and a cost to our economy estimated is over $6 billion annually, nearly 11% of the GDP of this country. That is the consequences of plastics. At the heart of this is an unsustainable linear model. Our raw material use more than doubled, with plastic consumption per capita rising from 5.7 kg to 7.4 kg. A throwaway culture has displaced traditional, low-impact practices, and our infrastructure is unable to support it. So urban convenience has led us to where we are today. We used to have this, you buy wachi, they were put in leaves, but urban convenience. You know, human beings, sometimes we are funny creatures. I read an article which was written by someone, and he said that man was created naked, Adam and Eve. As a result of civilization, they started covering themselves with leaves, and they were covering just the private part. And then we began to use wool to cover the entire body. In the name of civilization, nudity has been the thing that we have decided, and we see that as civilization. And these are some of the challenges that confront us. And it is not exclusive of even plastic, many aspects of our lives. Our vision as a government is what the two earlier speakers have all, touched on: circular economy for Ghana. We envision a circular economy. That Ghana's circular economy roadmap sets the direction. It targets 6 sectors, including plastics, and proposed cross-sector solution to accelerate innovation and reduce environmental burdens. This National Agenda Action Partnership and negotiation for UN Plastic Treaty, Ghana is not just a participant. We are helping shape the future of not only Ghana, but the entire globe. The transition makes economic sense. Estimates show circular practices could increase our GDP by 1.9% by 2030, and that is huge, nearly about 1.9 billion euro, and save euro 200 to 300 million in import. So if we are able to do this effectively, we stand to get about 1.9 billion euro as a result of import. We all know the challenges that our domestic currency face. And I was telling Doctor, there's a simple law of demand and supply. Those of us who did little economics, the higher the supply, the lower the price. The lower the supply, the higher the price, particularly when the goods are inelastic. So if you're able to do this, and we can save this country about 200 to 300 million euro a year, that would ease the pressure that otherwise would have been on our domestic currency. And for me, that would help the country to grow and create the needed jobs. Over 60,000 green jobs are expected to emerge, and I'm happy that BOST, and under the Ministry of Energy, my good friend, John Jinapo and I, we have had several discussions, and it's so elating to hear the full implementation of some of the green policies that you have and are implementing. So green jobs are expected to emerge, particularly in recycling, innovation, manufacturing. Conversely, failure to act will deepen degradation, raise health concerns, and hinder tourism and agriculture. One thing that we have as a country that serves as a growth pool on attraction for people who would want to come to this country in the name of tourism is our stability, our security. But I think that what is significant to a lot of tourists now, it is no longer just stability and security, but how clean your environment is. I don't think I would go to a country where I know I'll be subjected to huge environmental hazards. So it is a major economic issue. And I'm happy that all of you are participant actively in supporting government to ensure that we achieve this. Now, progress and gaps. The progress we have made and the gaps that we have identified. We have frameworks such as the National Plastic Management Policy and the Hazardous and Electronic Waste Control Act. We have levies to fund sanitation, but gaps remained. Enforcement is weak, responsibilities overlaps, and planning is fragmented. So we admit that yes, these are the policy interventions we have as a country, but we have also identified the defects as far as those policy interventions are concerned. And together with collaboration, we'll be able to find solutions to them. We are also developing legislations for mandatory extended producer responsibility, ensuring that those who produce plastic help finance their collection and recycling. Because this is a huge challenge. I was in Geneva last month, and I was in France also We had a program at the producer responsibility is huge. Those multi-million-dollar companies that are producing them, they must have a contribution as far as the collection is also concerned. Africa generates 5%, yet we consumed the highest, 4% of what we have generated. So it means that we are the least generator, and then we are the highest consumer. If you have global consumption, which is 4%, that is monumental. And we generate just 5% and consumed about 4%. Plastic. Ghana is exploring taxes, bans, and regulations to disincentive single-use plastics. So my brother from EPA, you see, when you say that we'll ban, and particularly when you are engaging the media, don't be surprised the next headline is that government has banned plastic. They don't say government is considering to ban plastic. Government, it will take some time, but we are determined to ensure that we achieved what countries like Rwanda have been able to achieve. So Ghana is exploring taxes, bans, and regulations to disincentivize single-use plastics, inspired by Rwanda and Kenya. Because Rwanda and Kenya, they've actually banned. We aim to restrict products such as plastic straws and sachets while promoting local alternatives. And I think that these are some of the things we are looking at. Promoting sustainable alternative, entrepreneurs are producing bamboo straws, cassava-based packaging, and refillable containers. Our strategy encourages circular design and biodegradable options. The Netherlands aims for 100% renewable or recycled plastic used by 2015. And I think that we can emulate what Netherlands is doing, that by 2050, everything they want to do will be renewable. And that is what is overly ambitious, but I think that they can do that, and that is what we're looking up to. Over half of Ghana plastic is not collected. We will expand waste segregation, support informal waste pickers, and invest in modern recycling infrastructure. Community recycling centers and buyback programs are being piloted. Recycled plastics are already waste at Agbogbuloshi. The young man brings the plastics there, then we buy, and we got support from the German government. Because one, if we do not do that, those young men, they don't have the mechanisms and the machines to remove the copper they need. So what they do is that they burn. They subject themselves to the consequences of the smoke that they inhale and subject the entirety of the people who live around there and Accra to such dangers. So we are buying. So what we intend to do is to see how we can partner with the private sector to get some funding to assist so that we can have a lot of buying centers across the country. Because some will bring it at Agbogbuloshi. You go to Tamale, you go to Kumasi, and other places, you still find people, young people who are burning this because they want to sell the copper. Ghana will mandate recycled content and products and lead by example through its green procurement practices. South Korea, 70% of recycling rate, and the Netherlands from Netherlands or the Dutch and also South Korea. Beyond EPR, we are developing incentives such as tax breaks, and this one I think is good for those of you in the private sector. Tax breaks for eco-design and penalties for polluting products. Those who engage in that shall be fined. Recycling park near Accra, developed through a public-private partnership, is underway. We welcome green bonds and climate finance to help close Ghana's $2.5 billion circular investment gap. So that is a gap that we have, about $2.4 billion. And it is elating to announce that we have engaged a private consultant to see how best we can, and we are hopeful that we'll get the needed funding to assist private sector. And those of you who are interested in that, and those who are already engaged in such acts, to see how you can augment the effort of government. Lasting change requires a shift in mindset from integrating sustainability into curricula to review communal clean-ups like the National Sanitation Day. We are empowering citizens, grassroots initiatives, such as women groups making bags from recycled clothes are also part of the solution. So it's going to be a double-pronged thing. We engage women to be able to make clothes out of that. And I believe once we do that, we create the needed jobs and also help to ensure environmental sustainability. No single actor can solve this alone. We need industry to innovate, academia to research, civil society to educate, and international partners to support Ghana's planned Circular Hub. Circular Hub will institutionalize this cooperation, inspired by Rwanda and Kenya, as I indicated, whole of society ethos, and the Netherlands multi-stakeholder governance. We are building a coalition that multiplies our efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, we have hard work ahead. Transitions are never easy. There will be hurdles. There will be those who are slow to change or who resist because the status quo seems easier. But the cost of maintaining the status quo is far greater than the effort to change them. We cannot bequeath to our children mountains of plastic waste and polluted water. We must instead provide them a resilient environment and a thriving green economy. By choosing the circular path, we are poised to unlock significant opportunities, tens of thousands of jobs for our youth, new business ventures in recycling and green technology, cleaner cities that attract tourism and investment, the healthier communities free from pollution-related illnesses. In other words, ending plastic waste, ladies represent. Allow me to paint a brief picture of what success looks like if we work together. Imagine a Ghana where our streets and beaches are clean, where plastics are valued as a resource so much that it will be unthinkable to discard them carelessly. A Ghana where entrepreneurs, where the circular economy principles are ingrained, where waste from one factory becomes a new raw material for another, and where consumers can conveniently refill and reuse rather than dispose of. In Ghana, we would see reduced pressure on landfills, less greenhouse gas emission, and communities that are more beautiful and livable. Our economy will be more self-sufficient, having found wealth in what we use to burn or bury. This is not a fanciful dream. Elements of this vision are already unfolding in various places around the world. And if others are doing it, I am very convinced that we can do it too, as well as in pockets of our own country. Our task is to scale it up and make it a new normal. As I conclude, I'm filled with hope and discourse with passion, determination, because I know rhetoric must be matched with action. And we the leadership carry the responsibility to ensure a follow-through. I am confident that with the initiative underway, policies being strengthened, and the collective momentum from forums like this, Ghana will turn the tide on plastic waste. To our friends from other countries who are present here, I would like to extend my gratitude to sharing our experiences and for supporting us. Together, we reaffirm the principles that environmental challenges transcend borders and the state a unified response. To our private sector leaders and captains are your own future. Embrace eco-innovation and you will thrive. To civil society organizations and community chairpersons, keep holding us accountable and keep doing the awareness work that inspires behavior or behavioral changes. And to every Ghanaian citizen, your voice and your choices matter. Demand action and join the movement. Simple acts multiplied millions of times will make a world of difference. But it is also very important for me to take solace in what Albert Einstein once said, that the significant problems that confront us can never be solved with the thinking we had when we created them. The challenges that are confronting us as far as plastic waste are concerned are our own creation. They were not imposed on us by God or some supernatural being somewhere. It was because of so-called urban convenience, and which we did in the most reckless and uncontrollable manner, has led to the challenges that confront us today. So the only way we can find solution to it is to change the thinking we had when we created those problems. And I'm very convinced with platforms such as this, we're all committed and with a common voice that yes, we can. And we have to change the way things were done in the past. Let us all resolve that years from now, we will look back on 2025 as a turning point, the moment Ghana embarked decisively on the path to end plastic waste and chart a course to a truly sustainable future. We owe this to ourselves, to our children, and to the planet we share. By working together with vision and unwavering purpose, Ghana can and will eliminate plastic waste, paving the way for a future that is sustainable, prosperous, and inclusive for all. Let me use this opportunity also to announce that the Ministry of Environment, Science, and Technology, and for that matter, government, is organizing something for the first time. We are organizing Environment, Science, and Technology Forum, where people like you, those players in the industry, civil society organizations, and academia will be brought together to share ideas. I took over as a minister barely 5 months ago. And so as someone who, in fact, I was wondering why President Mahama sent me to the ministry. But when I went there, I realized that this is in chemistry, and let me tell you a story. I was telling my colleague that when I engaged them the first time, and I wanted them to do self-introduction, if you ask this, they would do this and say, Professor, this. So I was wondering how I was going to manage these professors. Because my background, I'm a political scientist. But I now understand why His Excellency the President saw the need to send me there as a social scientist to handle those who engage in pure science. I realized that there were a lot of things that were not being done. For example, wouldn't it shock you if I tell you that we don't have a law on climate change in this country? As a matter of fact, plastic, we have a policy, we don't have a legal frame. There are a lot of the things, carbon trade, we don't even have law. Some we have policy, some we have law, we don't have regulations. So we have engaged the private sector to work on affirming all the legal regimes that governs the conduct of everybody. And that is why when my brother from EPA talked about the possibility of us banning plastic waste, you need to do those things anchored on law. And who is not a pure scientist background, but a political scientist, I now understood why His Excellency the President thought it's wise to send me there. Because you need good governance practices for pure science to be able to do what? To operate. And we cannot do this without engaging people like you. So I don't have doors in my office. As a matter of fact, it is opened. It is open for everybody. And I'll be so elated to engage the BNFT and other like partners to see how together we can help formulate some of these laws. Because there's one thing going to have enactment and laws, but there's another thing having comprehensive and effective laws. And the only way you can do that is by engaging the people for whom those laws are going to be made. So I'm using this opportunity to tell you that our doors are open for, said I was flabbergasted. No student leaders will not using big English. I was shocked to the marrow that almost all the agencies have enormous research outputs. And these research outputs are left in the shelves to gather dust. Either the private sector is unaware, or there's no any platform that is created for them to be aware. And I'm happy that you have a media house that is leading this. So the enormous research outputs that are done by the research institutions and academia, that's one. Two, it will also be an opportunity for them to challenge the research institutions and academia to conduct researches that are tailored to what they are already doing. And I'll give you two classical examples and conclude. Many people in this country are not aware that Need Fufu was the creation of CSR. Those of you who haven't tried fufu, you just need warm water and then you'll be able to stir it and it becomes fufu. It took CSR to do that. The private sector bought it, making millions out of CSR. And CSR is still struggling to survive. Pozzolano cement. Pozzolano cement was a cement which was invented by CSR. And it was invented to take care of our climate, our particular, environmental conditions. So this thing we are creating, I urge you all to participate. His Excellency the President is the one who is going to honor it. We had the pre-launch, and we shall have the Environment, Science and Technology Forum organized in August. Initially, we said it was going to be biannual. The President directed research institutions that will conduct researches that will help us to combat environmental challenges. And to conclude, the Every Child per Tree thing, I urge you, we have the trees available. We have the seedlings at CSR. We're making it available to any entity. If you have a land within your operation, we'll make the seedlings available for you to plant them. Thank you so much.
I'm also flabbergasted that our figures are increasing. However, the ministry is putting in efforts to at least breach the $2.4 billion gap we have. And one thing the minister also mentioned that was very key is that we should start looking at sustainability as an investment instead of a cost. And also reiterated that the Environment, Science, Technology Forum that was launched early this month will be coming on in August. Ladies and gentlemen, on the note of viewing sustainability as an investment rather than cost, we would watch a brief documentary that BNFT has put together, also to reiterate the agency of plastic waste in the country and what individuals are doing and what some companies are also doing to inspire us all. So let's take a watch in a few minutes and we will be back.
Ghana struggles with an escalating plastic crisis. Neighborhoods buried in waste, waterways turned. This silent disaster here mirrors a global emergency. Every year, millions of tons of plastic end up in the ocean, affecting human health, wildlife, and economies worldwide. And in Ghana, the effects are painfully visible. Ghana recycles just 5% of its plastic, lagging behind global averages. But in the midst of the crisis, Ghana's youth and forward-thinking organizations are building momentum, turning plastic from problems into promises. As a CSR effort, Access Bank is putting education at the heart of change, training school children to be agents in sustainability.
Access Bank takes immense pride in supporting government and government agencies to rid ourselves of plastics waste by our target of 2030. Through our Go Green initiatives, we've rolled out 2 successful programs. The first one being Waste is Useful. This program has been rolled out to ensure that we segregate our waste into organic and inorganic materials. Based on that, we've also trained a lot of schools to be able to undertake the same approach to disposing of waste. We aim to lead an eco-conscious environment in our banking practices across the various segments of our operation. We not only want to reduce our own carbon footprint, but we want to empower businesses, empower communities to leave a lasting legacy on our environment.
The Universal Plastic Product and Recycling Limited, a Jaspon Group's recycling arm, is closing the loop on plastics by processing waste back into raw materials, contributing to Ghana's 5% recycling efforts.
We are here doing the plastic recycling. We do injection molding, we do PET recycling, we do vinyl liner in our UPPR production loop from the outside and inside of Ghana with the various locations. So this PET we bring here, we do it into flaking, then flaking to fiber, then fiber to yarn. I do like to encourage all my Ghanaian friends. This waste is not remain waste. Waste is now become a gold. Anybody who bring this waste and provide to us, we are paying them an incentive on that waste. So the using of waste in terms of money is possible in Ghana nowadays.
Fueled by passion, the best of boys in collaboration with the BNFT are on grounds transforming littered neighborhoods into clean green spaces. As a way to appreciate and motivate volunteers involved in the cleaning exercise, the BNFT executives treated them to a well-deserved sumptuous meal.
We are so concerned about the environment, and we have this event that we annually organize. It is that Environmental Sustainability Summit. And we said, no, we will have to make impact. Instead of just going to talk, we have to be seen also working. So we are here collaborating with you to clean 37, one of the important hospitals we have in Ghana. So this is why we are here. I am the CEO. I am digging, so I've told my boys that we are all going to work, make ourselves dirty.
From classroom lessons to recycling facilities and street-level cleanups, these efforts together show that change can be holistic and powerful. Ghana's 5% isn't just a local story. It is part of a bigger narrative, scaling up plastic recycling here, recycling and community action. Plastic can become our promise and not our poison. Now ask yourself, will you be a part of Ghana's plastic promise?
Wow. So I also have to ask the question, will you be a part? I was expecting a getting into one presentation, and just after that, our plenary, and then we are almost wrapping up. But before that, because we are all down, can we all stand up and stretch a little? Can we all stand up and stretch a little? Say hi to someone. Maybe someone you've been wanting to say hi to for. Just say hi. Right, the door to on our right is an exit to the washroom. So just in case you want, you could just take the right exit to the washroom. 1 minute more. Right, thank you very much. Let's kindly take a sit back. So when I was coming today, I was looking forward to see those who will bring a plastic bottle. And I wanted to tell them that they shouldn't panic because the plastic bottles are reusable. Then I came and there's plastic on everybody's table. You know what will happen today? Because you all own one plastic bottle in front of you, the only way we could know whether the summit have been impactful on you or not is how you handle that plastic bottle and how you recycle it or you dispose it. So don't worry, don't panic, it's reusable. You're owning one. At least I'm not the only person having a plastic bottle on my table. That's just on a lighter note. Ladies and gentlemen, to further warm the stage with real data, real stories, and real solutions, please welcome Dr. Rosemary Anderson-Akola from the University of Environment and Sustainable Development for her topic, Plastic Pollution in Ghana, Challenges, Solutions, and the Path Forward. A round of applause as she joins us in her beautiful kente. Please, let's keep clapping. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So my name has been mentioned, and I'm looking at all these beautiful faces and intelligent people. And I was just sitting there listening to the keynote speakers, and I said, they've said everything I'm coming to say. So can they just skip my presentation? But well, I would repeat what they said, because everything I was coming to say have been said. Plastics. But I am very sure that we had such an environment before. And please, just go to the, skip, please, skip, where we are today. Those of you who were born in the 90s, the 70s, sorry, or before 70s, if your memories will take you back, you remember that plastics were very scarce to see. And anytime you saw a plastic bag, it was your relative who had come from Abrochre with a parcel for you. And when they brought the parcel, they'll say, please remove the parcel. That's serious, because they'll take the plastic back. And if they forget, they will send a child to come and say, "Me Pacho, the plastic my mom sent to you, the gift, she says I should come for the rubber." And as we moved on, it became very common. Thank you, I would prefer that. It became very common. And so if you go to say, "Give me my plastic bag," they say, "Now when so you're doing?" Because they started producing plastics in Ghana. So then they say, "Now when so you're there, what is this? What is this plastic that you want to come and take?" So gradually we started slowing down on taking back plastics from people. And then we started developing gift bags. When you go for programs, take away all plastic at VFS before coming. So I left very early. So I was very hungry, and I saw someone selling eggs. So I said, maybe that will sustain me. So I got down and bought the eggs. Then I saw another person selling oats and other products. So I went there to observe what was going on. She fetched the oats in the plain plastic, that plain plastic. She served it first in that one. And then secondly, she put it inside a black polythene and now picked another red polythene to drop in. I said, "Madam, no, that's a strip plastic." After taking the cocoa, she's throwing all these strip plastics into the environment. There were other people standing there, and they all nodded. They said, yes, yes. She didn't add a third plastic, and they all agreed that she should always give one plastic. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because we can all be ambassadors. You understand? It depends on how you approach the situation. When you approach it very well, I think it will sink down with our vendors, and they would also reduce the 3 plastics to 2 and the 2 to 1. Please, let's go on. I don't know how I'm going to see my slides, but I'll try. I have to stand here, right? Okay. Oh, thank you. Jesse. Okay, so just a simple graph for us to see how we have graduated. In sorry, I thought I could survive. Okay, so just a way of telling, if you can see, we graduated in my years just after 1980 and 1990. It shot up like that. Why? Honorable said, convenience. We have come to understand that plastic use is very convenient. It's very easy to use. Today, that is not it. You go and they dish it out in the rubber for you. You just use it and you throw away. You buy your yogurt, you drink, you throw away. You buy your ice water sachet, you drink your water. We are all seated here with plastics. So can you imagine a world where on a daily basis, everybody used single-use plastic? Everybody on a daily basis. So look at Ghana, where our population, on a daily basis, we are all using plastics. From morning to evening, we would have accumulated some quantum of plastics that we are throwing away. Let's think about it. Please, next slide. Okay, so these are some of the plastics that we produce in Ghana. We have the PET bottles, we have the PVC, and on and on. And we only recycle less than 10%. And we throw all these into the bin. Next slide. I have global plastic waste. Have you seen the Burj Khalifa? It's the tallest building in the world, isn't that? See what our waste is doing. Taller than the tallest building. From packaging alone, look at the amount of metric tons of waste we are generating. Can you see what we are doing to ourselves as a people? If our waste is taller, in a year, it's taller than the tallest building in the world, then we are in deep trouble as a people. Please. Next slide. Next slide. The reason why I highlighted packaging is because everywhere we go, especially weekends, we will package food for funerals, for parties, for weddings, and everybody is taken away. And it's not only in Ghana, but the Ghana situation that we know is worse. Next slide. Okay, and then Honorable said less than 50% is collected. As for the statistics, they've talked about it, and I'll just repeat them as we go on. Okay. My statistics here says 9.5% is collected and recycled. Honorable said 10%, so it's within the same. Those mathematicians here will tell us that when you run it up, it's 10%. Please, next slide. So in Ghana, these are the waste sites we have. We have 66 waste sites in the whole country. It is not visible, you cannot see, but in the whole country, these are the waste sites. So this is just by way of information for us. Next slide, please. Next slide. So we are looking at the environmental impact. Definitely, I get dehydrated easily. And that can take between 100 and 1,000 years to decompose. We all know that. So what is happening? We keep using and we keep throwing. So it disrupts the ecosystem survival, the life, because plants have to survive. When you throw rubber on the plants, what happened? On the field, they don't get air, so they will not. We used not to have this kind of rubbish, okay? And then in our landfills that I showed you, this circle, that circle that I have put there, tells you that some of the landfills that are closer, some of them that are about 500 kilometers away from water bodies, you have some that are about 100 kilometers away from water bodies, and the closer it is to the water body, the worse situation we have, because it will pollute the water bodies. Our fishes will have the micro-contamination, and those of us who love fishes, as Minister said, will be in trouble. So it's a threat to marine and terrestrial species. Let's go on. Okay. We were told here that microplastics were found in human balls. It's not just in human balls. We find them in our blood, in our kidneys, in our liver, and also in our reproductive organs. So it affects us seriously. And so we need to really look at this plastic waste in a very scary way. We have to find a way of tackling it, because this is break down into tiny, tiny, tiny pieces, and they find their way into our food. And when we ingest them in ourselves, then they also settle in our blood, our organs, and then affect us. We get cancers and all that from that. Move on. Okay. Now, we know that plastic waste generates carbon. How does it generate carbon? My brothers and sisters, from production to disposal, we generate carbon. And we all know what carbon does to our environment. To the marketplaces, vehicles will transport them and vehicles will emit carbon. When we use them and we throw them away, they would also cause problems, especially when we burn. It becomes hazardous to our health. So normally it emits carbon dioxide and methane gas, but normally we calculate the methane. See what is happening? They are burning. So in 2019 alone, plastic production caused about 3.4% to 5.3% of the world greenhouse gas emissions, releasing between 1.8 to 2.24 billion metric tons of carbon. Normally there's methane gas, but they would calculate it in the carbon equivalent. And this is huge, okay? So if we don't intervene, we are going to be in trouble because it's very high. And the carbon, what it does is that as much as we need it to trap the infrared to keep the globe warm for us, we don't need it too much because the more gases we have in the air, the more they trap the infrared, and for that matter, the more heat we have. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes, Oga Mama is sitting there. We are looking at the gender aspect. If we want to arrest or minimize the use of single-use plastics, women should be taken into account seriously because we are the ones who will do the cooking and do the packaging. So we need to design strategies where we would educate our women to understand. I took this picture from a vendor, and I stood there after taking the picture. Before taking the picture, I educated her and educated all those who had come there to buy the food. And they were all nodding. So I believe some change will happen with her at a point because I showed her what to do. So it is important that we target women and how we will educate them to slow down on the single-use plastic especially. Let's move on. Because plastic pollution in general affects women and girls differently. It affects boys too differently. That is how now we can find plastic, monoplastics in men's something. Okay. So we all face it differently, and women are more exposed to it because if men inhale these toxins and they are sick, women have to give the care. If you have microplastics in your testicles and you give birth to a plastic baby, the woman has to be the one to be in the house to take care. So when you take your time to do serious analysis, it affects women differently from how it affects men. So when we do research and we understand these things, it helps us to bring in very achievable interventions. Next slide. Okay, this is just statistics to let us know how waste segregation in Ghana, how it is gender biased. You can clearly see that the low-level role is skewed towards women. 99% of women are the ones doing the low-level role positions. But like I earlier on said, men are using single-use plastics, but women, I think if we do research, we'll realize that women are using single-use plastic more than men. And so we need to look at this. Next slide. Public health concerns. Please, next slide. So public health concerns, we have talked about it over and over. Actually, it's because of the public health concerns we are here today to talk about how we can reduce the use of plastics, okay? We get cancer, our immune system breaks down, respiratory diseases, reproductive disorders, and so on. My brother from EPA in the Bolga Naba smoke also talked about it. So let's just see quickly what I also put down. Next slide, please. Yes, the recent response, we have the policy blueprint for plastic alternative. That was recently passed. They are working on it. It's a blueprint, but they have to now sit down and plan towards it. We have the National Plastic Action Roadmap. And then we have the National Plastic Management Policy and private sector recycling initiatives that we saw documentaries here and there. And then local government cleanup efforts. These are ongoing. Public education. These are ongoing, but it is slow. We have to intensify. We have to ensure that the policies are implemented. Next slide, please. What's the gap? I just said we have to ensure that the policies are implemented because we have weak enforcement policies and then limited recycling infrastructure. Yes, we would want to think big and we want to emulate the Netherlands, but do we have the muscles to do that? We have to look at it and then try to get infrastructures that will help us to recycle. And then low public awareness. That is obvious. Let us intensify the public awareness. Please don't say it is none of your business. I just gave you 2 examples where I spoke to the cocoa seller and then the Banku seller. I am sure a change will happen. So let's all be ambassadors of this whole campaign. Okay, water. And the bottles will be taken back. At a lower price, you get water. So we need to sit down around the table and brainstorm and see how we can change the use of the plastics to bottles. And then you take the bottles back and then you... Okay, so as I was presenting, I was talking about sustainable actions or what to do. So we need to... that government has put in place. And then we need to make deliberate efforts to increase the percentage of female in the planning and decision-making table or at that level. We need to make deliberate attempt, that is, affirmative actions should be made to ensure that females are there. Then they will be able to speak to the issues where we can collectively help. Because when you leave the whole dialogue for men, they will make men decisions. And we'll still have problems. But we have to have both men and women decisions. Okay? So we need to also invest in quality and actionable research for impactful solution. So like I said, without research, when we put solutions together, we are going to fail. We need research to also intensify our public engagement, education, especially on the single-use plastics. We need to intensify that. I have said that over and over again. We also need to include waste management as a compulsory subject at all levels of our children's education. Today, we are sitting in the four corners of this air-conditioned wall, children. It's very, very critical. And so it's important that we are able to inculcate or include waste management in our children's curriculum right from the crèche. The children should begin to appreciate what it means not to use single-use plastics or what it means to manage waste. And as they go on, it becomes like English and math is compulsory. We need to make waste management compulsory because of our own good. Next slide. You see this picture? I told you I took the first one from a vendor. The second one, I have to confess, is from my home, and I have stopped. I have to confess because I shuttle between Somenya and Accra. So when I'm leaving, I cook heavily for somebody's brother and son before I go, so that they can warm it and eat. So I have changed. And so when you look at the other side, those are reusable plastics. So that is what I use now. So when I stir my banku or TZ, I dish them out, I'll reuse it again. So let us all adapt to that. So right now I have stopped wasting using single-use plastic, or I have reduced the use of single-use plastic. It's a gradual process. Next slide. So we talked about biodegradable products. That is the way to go. It's gradual. It's very expensive, and we need to find ways and means to invest in these biodegradable products. This takeaway pack was made from sugarcane and starch. And this was made from cassava, the plastic. That is, I am not plastic. It was made from cassava, okay? So these are materials that we can emulate, but it needs heavy investment. Next slide, please. The role of all of us. Next slide. Government institutions need to regulate the policy. Research, the academia, we need to do research and create awareness. And then eco-innovations, that is from the private sector, they need to go into eco-innovations and investment. That is where we have seen the use of sugarcane and starch. That's the private sector, okay? And civil society. Civil society also needs to invest also, and also educate, campaign, and public engagement. Community members, we need behavioral change, big time. Behavioral change is one thing we have to calculately work on so that we will all collectively use the right materials so that our soil can breathe and we can survive. Next slide. Next slide, please. So this is the environment we are all looking up to have. Green, no plastics, and then the plants will be breathing, and we will also get good air to breathe. Next slide. I gathered my materials from these sources. Let's go. Okay, they said the thank you slide is not coming, so I'll take this opportunity to say thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, madam. A round of applause for her. Indeed, there are solutions. All we need is in-depth research and willingness, and we could curb waste, plastic waste in the country.
So one last thing I want to tell all of us, we go to churches, we go to the mosque. Please, let's take advantage.
Today we have only one plenary session, and so we'll be having that now. So whilst we bring our chair to the podium for the plenary session, I'm coming table by table. Just tell me one thing you are taking home from the whole discussion we are having. Maybe let me start with my table. So who is going for it? Okay. Should I choose?
Okay, that plastic waste is still useful.
Thank you.
That there may be new opportunities to make profitable use of single-use bottles, which will help economically and environmentally.
Sure, thank you. So you know what? When we started the introduction in the morning, we started from this side, right? So it's just fair I go to the other table. So let me count here. Yeah, you're smiling. I like your smile.
Waste is gold.
Waste is gold.
I believe it's time to own the management of plastics. And
Hi.
yeah, so it is our mandate for us to also educate people who don't have ideas about the importance of waste.
Okay. Coming back to this table.
Thank you. So we need to all use reusable plastics so that would keep the waste in the system.
Sure, thank you. Bouncing back to reusable plastics, my lady.
We should use reusable
plastics. So I think I've been here already. No? Okay, so let's have one young person.
Okay, so we'd have to look more into our behavioral change, which is, as Madam said, from schools, churches, and everywhere.
We are learning, oh. It's good I'm doing this because the room is calm and I'm wondering, are we paying attention? But we are.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I am the ambassador of Brazil to Ghana, and I would like to commend this initiative. Congratulations to all of you for being here.
Round of applause.
Plastic is a challenge and something that we must all work on for our own sake. I would like to remind you that this year Brazil is hosting COP30, the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Conference on Climate Change. One of the themes, of course, is reducing greenhouse emissions, gas emissions, and something else is aligning climate action with people's daily lives. So that's what we are talking about here. So please keep this agenda on your...
Go to COP. But friends who attended brought me Mark, so I know who to talk to after we close. You know, right? So I'm coming back to this table. Yes, please.
Awareness creation should start from our homes.
Great.
And then in our various schools also. Yes, we should start the awareness from our various schools. Yes, that's what
Awareness. Yes, please.
I would like to say that, like it is said that train a child the way he should go, and when they grow, they will not depart from it. So it's very important to get the very little children, go into our preschools, nursery schools, and practice a green economy over there. Thank you.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah, I think if the adults set the examples, the children will see, like how the presenter said that she has stopped using by using the reusable bottles instead of this. That's a perfect way to go. Before saying we should go and teach the kids. And then secondly, it's heavy investments that we need to make these sustainable alternatives. Without that heavy investment, all this will be political talks. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Leadership by...
Okay, so I would like to say that for this to be effective, it needs to change our mindset. It's not going to take us anywhere. So what I'm taking home is my mindset must be changed about how I use plastic waste materials.
Mindset change. And we are in a country where the government believes in resets. So let's reset our minds.
Yes, thank you. So one other thing is the government should think of investing in behavior change. Because for this thing to see a day of light, the mindset of the public need to be changed. And behavior change needs extensive investment. So as we are talking of bringing in new policies and other things, the policies should be gearing towards investing on behavior change. The social behavior change communication is a key or a tool to achieving the goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's just have this one briefly and we'll move to the next table.
Thank you very much. To me, if we can change the name waste to recycling, because it's like the waste is creating a lot of problems. So to me, if we can change the name.
Thank you very much. We take the last one. I think we are ready. Okay.
Yeah, I'm coming from an organization called TLC Proactive, and TLC is not it's teaching learning community. And I want to pick it from what my sister just said, that we should be able to focus on the younger ones, because, I mean, the older ones may be getting it wrong already, but I think we should have a starting point and ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. Yeah.
Sure, thank you very much. Over to you, Sandra. We are starting our first plenary. Let us know what theme they'll be talking on and who our panelists are. Oh, I have your mic. No worry, use that.
Thank you very much.
It's now time for our plenary discussion on the topic plastic waste and its impact on Ghana's ecosystem, innovative solutions for a sustainable future. Now, moderating this section is Dr. Kweku Edu from the University of Environment and Sustainable Development. Please, let's welcome him with a round of applause. I'll allow him to introduce his panelists. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for coming to this particular section. Without wasting my time, I'd like to introduce my panelists for the day. We have here with us a chartered environmentalist and a sustainability professional who goes by the name Mr. Edward Deborah. Shall we put our hands together for him as he mounts the podium? We also have with us a circular economy youth activist with a Thinking Minds Ghana. She's a final year student of the University of Environment and Sustainable Development, Somenya. Nana Akosia Krine Ajari. We also have with us the manager of Jospon Green Transition Office, Dr. Engineer Glenn Kwabena Jima, the general manager. I think we can do better than that. Also with us from the University of Ghana, who is an environmental scientist, is Professor Chris Gordon. And also with us is the lead consultant from Green Vista, Dr. Eric Mkam. I'll just give you a minute so that you tell us something about yourself. Just a minute. Just a minute. So we'll start with Mr. Edward Deborah.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Edward Deborah. I'm based in the UK. I work in the waste industry. My career started off from Ghana. I've been in health and safety for the last 13 years. And then transiting to the UK, I happened to get a first job in the waste industry. That was the time I realized that not every waste is waste. Today, I hope I'm going to share the bits that I know with all of you so we know what benefits we can actually get from waste. And yes, I'm a chartered environmentalist and a chartered waste and resource manager as well.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to our lady.
Hi everyone, my name is Nana Akosia Krine Ajari. I'm a final year student of the University of Environment and Sustainable Development. I'm pursuing Bachelor of Science in Sustainable Development. I'm also with Thinking Minds Ghana, where we empower underprivileged people in community to use plastic waste to create something useful in the community. I'm here to share with you on the topic and then also learn from all of us here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we now move on to...
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Glenn Kwabena Jima. By background, I'm a mechanical engineer. And looking at the subject and the discussion, I'm not supposed to have been here. But opportunity given to me by being employed in the Jospon group of companies, I've been able to interface between the engineering, mechanical background into the environmental space, and therefore have seen the need for us as engineers to begin to design systems that are more environmentally friendly, low carbon designs, and things that will help us have the world that we all intend to have. And I hope that with that experience on this particular panel, I'll be of help to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof.
You won't mention my full name. Is it possible to get these lights pointed up? Because they're shining in my old eyes. I've asked before, same here as you said. Anyway, my name is Chris Gordon. I've been in this space for now 40 years. Wow. I'm the founding director of the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies. My interests cover environmental pollution, climate change, and biodiversity loss. I think it was the late SKB Asante said he had lived too long because he's seeing things that if he had died earlier, he wouldn't have seen. But the advantage of living as long as back in 2003, or was it 2004? 2004, we had the first National Forum on Research, Science, and Technology. March, harnessing research, science, and technology for sustainable development in Ghana. There was a I remember because I was part of the keynote at that time. 20 years, what have we done? What have we've even forgotten we've had one. Now we are saying we're going to do the first. What is the saying? Those who do not remember their history repeat the mistakes of the past. So with that, let me pass on to...
Thank you. No. So I'm Eric Wache Iadom, and I consult for Green Vista in the area of sustainability, ESG, and climate change. And it's a privilege to join the conversation this morning. And for some time now, I've been talking about ESG and sustainability. Even in the past 1 week alone, I've done close to about 20 to 30 hours on this subject. Last week I was here, this particular building, and I was talking about green HR. They had an HR conference here, and I was here to talk about HR, how we can integrate sustainability into HR practices. Today we are talking about plastic. On Thursday, I'll be at Moving Big talking about sustainability in the hospitality industry. So in the past 12 months, I have spoken in conferences over hundreds, trying to ensure that the sustainability that we talk about, we can implement it in various sectors of our economy and not restricted to either the studies. I've written one book. I think when you go outside there at the book stand, you'll see my book on how you can integrate ESG into Ghanaian business model. I look more into how do we turn the waste into cash. And if there's incentive for people to make money out of it, then it will almost be automatic for us to be practicing environmental sustainability. And I'm happy to join the conversation this morning.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And you are welcome one more time. Now let's stretch the ball rolling and start with Mr. Edward Deborah. The minister and all the speakers who have spoken before we took our seat, all of them have spoken extensively about environment. That continues to hinder effective plastic waste management in Ghana. And in your view, what do you think can be done to bridge this?
Thank you for the question. I look at it in terms of a lot of, and to start with, it's a privilege to be here, and I feel a bit threatened, but that's all right. So, on the policy side, Ghana as a country, we seem to have almost every law. We seem to have almost everything. I'll tell you a story. I think in 2011, I was on my master's in oil and gas engineering in the UK. Then I got on a train, so I was talking to someone. Then I started talking about how the oil find in Ghana. He asked that, do Ghana have oil? I said, yes. Then what he said was, that country have almost everything. Why are you not developed? That question I couldn't answer. It's the same with this policy thing we're talking about. We have the laws. Our challenge has always been enforcing those laws. A lot of the time, the laws are there in big books, snippets of these laws so that they are easily accessible for people. For instance, years ago when I was younger, and I'm not too old, what you do not know, you can't work with. So even in, I think 2001, 2002, thereabout, there was this special president's initiative on starch. They translated that to different languages. So, you know, in Ghana, we study about 9 or so languages in the basic schools. So assuming we start translating these laws into those languages, it would help for people to adapt, people to understand what it means to do what is right. Again, once people understand that, then you expect that they will conform. We should also think about training the people. If you don't train them on what is happening, they would make the mistakes they will make. Right? So once we start doing that, and also ensuring that we hold people accountable for their actions, we won't get anywhere. Our problem is that most of the time, I know someone who knows someone. So even if I fall on the wrong side of the law, there's somebody I can call, and within seconds, it's done. That is not acceptable. We have seen a lot of nice speeches, nice presentations, attending several, enforcing anything. If I haven't learned anything at all, to wrap up answering this question, when I moved into the UK initially, it was a culture shock. Not finance, not profit, nothing like that. The regulator is so tough that when your employer plans to make maybe £1 billion from any investment, and they see that they are going to go against the law, they won't venture into it. What do we see here? What do we see here? So for policy the loopholes in policy has always been enforcing it. Most of the regulators in Ghana really need a lot of support, budgetary support, to be able to carry out their oversight responsibilities, going around site, doing inspections, checking on all of them, so that they can enforce compliance. I believe that would help. When that is missing, we can't get anywhere.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edwell. We are very grateful. So the long and the short of it all is the implementation. We have everything. The policies are there, but we lack implementation. Thank you very much. Now let me move on to Akosia. You are a youth, young person. How do you think we can better equip the Ghanaian youth to lead community-based plastic waste solution, more especially in the under-resourced regions?
Right. Thank you very much for the question. So I think as someone that works mainly in the community and with young people, I've come to realize that the youth have got ideas, and then they are really doing something in their various communities. The only challenge they have is publicity, and then also for people to patronize the ideas that they've come up with. For instance, when you come to the community that we work at Thinking Minds Ghana, we work at POM, and then we are empowering young people who are underprivileged. We are empowering nursing mothers. We are empowering women, young people that are out of school that do not have anyone to support them to continue their education. We are giving them skills. When you see the bags or the product they produce, some of them get discouraged at a point because they feel, okay, we are doing all these great ideas, but who is promoting us, who is investing in our ideas, and who is even coming from wherever they are to come and see us? So I think the challenge has been with the fact that we are not really getting the required publicity. Government is we are not really giving the seat at the table. So it's high time that if government is making policies, we need to also look at the implementation the lower manner or the yellow club where we operate. It's different from what is needed in Greater Accra. So if we want to really empower the young people, we need to look at each community, each region, and what is their peculiar challenge, what do they really need. And I've come to realize that so we need funding from government, we need other people, we also need to partner with other people that are doing the same things that we are doing. Because the idea that we have in our community is not new. Other people are doing it. But then we feel that, okay, I want to be the only one doing it. So sometimes gaining public people to see that, okay, build your capacity, but be ready to partner with somebody so that we gain the publicity. Government patronizes the ideas that we come up with. Then we can be able to think critically and then come up with more innovative ideas, because we know that there's ready market for us. There's someone who is ready to give us the needed support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you are yearning for a common, all of us are fighting towards a common goal, but
Sure.
you want a differentiated support.
Yes.
Depending on the situation. Thank you very much, Akosia, for that wonderful submission. I will now move on to my engineer. You have coming from the Jaspon office, more especially the Jaspon Green Transition Office. How is the Just One Green Office supporting the large-scale infrastructure development for plastic collection, segregation, and recycling? And in your own opinion, what do you think are the barriers to this progress?
Thank you very much. Yes, so I'm from the Just One Green Transition Office, and our core mandate is to drive sustainable kind of activities. And by so doing, we are able to unlock investment to ensure that we are able to set up infrastructure that would integrate in ensuring that we are able to have effective collection systems, and at the same time to ensure the transportation of these plastic waste into their various treatment facilities. That's our core mandate. And so basically we leverage on the private-public partnership opportunities that exist within every area that we operate to unlock investment that will enable us to attract the needed kind of system that we need. We also leverage on that partnership to also bring down the technical expertise needed. We realize that having the infrastructure alone wouldn't be enough if you don't have the technical know-how. So we also leverage on the same partnership to bring on board the well-vested people, areas that might have tested the system for a long time and that have proven, for example, the YEA. Just One has been the pioneer of the YEA system, where at this moment we are looking at decentralizing it. And so we have at least the plastics that we generate in our communities, publicly, the door-to-door collection system. We private areas in collecting their plastic waste and safely transporting them to our treatment facilities where we do add value to it. So the office does not just look at just drawing down investment, but we also help ensure that the activities within the entire value chain, we try our best in minimizing our carbon footprint. And so if you look at, for example, the setting up of the transfer stations within some strategic points across the city, they are meant to trap the plastic waste at those intervention stages so that one big truck will convey all together to the appropriate place of treatment. Either than that, you realize that all the tricycle owners and people that are generating it and want to transport will all be on the street. And that means that we are polluting more than we are even wanting or we wanted to save. So we also help manage the carbon footprint of the company. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer. I'm very grateful. Prof.
Sorry, I left out the issue of the barriers.
Right.
Yes, so quickly to talk about the barriers. I believe the Honorable Minister made mention of a couple of them. The key among them is the finance as well. We are also faced with the issue of finance in trying to, for now, we are looking at resilient infrastructure. At least existing infrastructure being able to be upgraded to have the needed resilience in fight against the climate situation we found ourselves are not well formalized. The situation we found ourselves in the former players is that we are regulated, but the informal sectors get into our systems, have their own way without them not observing the needed protocols. And that is something that if we are to ensure that they are integrated properly, it will help. Then the other thing too is with regard to data, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer. We'll come back to you and you will tell us more on what Just One is currently doing to overcome these challenges. We'll come back to you later on. Prof, when it comes to environmental-related policies, I think you are one of the institutional memories we have in the country. You are one of them. You've done a lot of research on this. You've trained a lot of students on this, both at the master's level and the PhD level. What do you think is or are the biggest challenges in translating academic research on plastic pollution into actionable policies or community programs? What are they?
Well, as you rightly said, I was part of the development of the plastic policy, plastic management policy, as well as the plastic action plan roadmap. And as your first speaker said, we have all the plans, we have all the policies. The real issue is implementation. And the policymaker are speaking different languages. So we need to find waste. It says, we talk about MINT, materials in transition. That is somebody's end product or waste product is the input for another product. Using the word waste, waste to wealth, it sends some connotation. So we need to have that common language. We as scientists, we need to practice what is called knowledge brokerage, where we take, as was said, information and not reduce the content of the information, but repackage the information in ways that is relevant and understandable by other communities outside academia. We also have a very major problem in that many of our policies, even though they are good, I say this because I wrote some of them myself. Right. Yeah. Say what? Modesty is the refuge of the incompetent. Yeah. We don't have the evidence. We need evidence, and to get the evidence, you have to carry out research. If we are talking about, there's a unit is doing 30 million a year sachet. I've forgotten who said that. I would say it's 30 million. People are drinking 5. Right. The population of Accra, the real population, that is the actual plus the tribe, we are generating per day. But that is a hypothesis that I've created, that we are producing. We do not have the data. The 3 elements are, we need a language, we need knowledge brokerage, and we need policies that are backed by evidence. Once we have that, at least that connection between the researcher and the policymaker should become better. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this insightful submission. So repackage this 3 information you talked about is very critical. Now let's go on to Dr. Eric Boakye-Adom. You've been with the public university, you've also been with the private sector for some time. What do you think are some of the high potential green business models, those that are workable, that you think can currently address this plastic waste we have in this country?
Thank you, thank you. So after listening to the minister, I was asking myself why the need for this panel session, because the minister understands the issues, and he's also in the process of putting solutions together. And it has been like that over the years, that we have, especially from the government side, they understand the issues, because we all live in the same society, you know. But the challenge is how we can translate the solution into workable plans. And one of the key things, like most of the panelists have mentioned, is our ability to implement the plans, you know. So if you ask, what are the sustainable business models? We have them around. We have them. We have companies like doing some form of sustainable business models. But the issue is, are we prepared to support them? Are we prepared to put the funding in there? And that is the missing element, especially when you look into our policy. like the minister mentioned, it's unfortunate he's not here, but I'm sure that he will get the message that in all our legislation and the policy, there's one thing that is missing. That is the fiscal aspect. If we want to encourage the use of ban, let's say, single-use plastic and bring in recycling, in our tax system, is there a tax incentive for anybody importing a product that is reusable? In the reading of the budget, did we hear anything like that? You see, the government, especially with this particular government, tends to be more green focused. We have Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. I think we have another Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Change and all that. Putting this together, we are getting it right on the legislative side. What about the fiscal side? A while ago, about a month or so ago, the government wanted to bring 1 cedi on fuel prices. And it was under a certificate of urgency because the government saw it as important and it was passed overnight. We cannot say that legislation takes too long a time that we cannot get it done. It's all about priorities. What is important to the government? If government see that plastic waste is important in them to support individuals that are doing things to support or to end plastic waste. So the disconnect between what we say and what we do is the challenge. It's not the absence of business models.
Thank you very much. So it means that addressing the plastic crisis we have in Ghana can be done under the certificate of urgency. That is doable. Thank you very much. Now let me come back to you, Mr. Edward. Deborah, one of our speakers talked about biodegradable packaging as an alternative. Can you tell us what do you think could be some of the barriers to adapting these biodegradable packaging and how you think they can be addressed?
I think that I would like to borrow some of the words my learned colleague used, doctor used. Clearly, right, funding is a challenge. Do we have the scale of production to do that, right? Will people be able to afford it? And again, to borrow your words, if government is committed, they will do it. I'll give you another example to answer this question. I'm sure all of you remember the notorious e-levy. You all saw how it was passed, to the point that somebody was on a stretcher. They managed. They are just, for want of a better word, not committed to it. Now, if you want to look at production terms, first of all, you need to do a mapping around the country to see where the population is dense, and this is Accra. Also, you have to see how many recycling plants are available, right? And then you match it up with the demand for them. If people can afford the biodegradable ones, that's fair. But if they cannot afford, are you producing them on a larger scale at a subsidized rate so it can be attractive to them? The whole idea is making it easy for people to relate with, because plastics has been with us for a long time. So if you want that shift, it can be done in a day. However, if you take that conscious effort of collaborating with the people, collaborating, you can influence them. However, if you sit at one point and only throw theories as issue, you're going to do that. A quick example. I'm sure all of you know tiles on the floor.
Yes, we do.
And I'm sure most of you know that you can pick some, make a company, but I'm just trying to draw some examples from there to support the conversation. The plant I work at, we process tiles. Tiles that are broken down. Guess what? The support from the government is immense. Government in our part of the world would support to what extent? They will only look at gaining votes, one, making sure that their pockets are lined up, two, and not really committed to getting the things right. So let's go back to the basics. We cannot reinvent the wheel. The simple things. The blockages that people face in setting up businesses need to be shortened. Because somebody might come into the country, foreign investors, bringing in money to set up such plants. The processes they have to go through will discourage them from doing it. Sometimes they lose their capital. Make entry easy. Then, obviously, we will scale up. They will employ our people, right? Of course, public advocacy, education, and things, people will begin to realize that it is actually important to use those biodegradable ones as compared to the plastics. Another example, If you go to any shop outside of the country to buy anything, and you go with your own bag, great. If you don't, at the time of checkout, you would have to pay for the plastic bag. That's the disincentive, right? You would have to pay for the plastic bag. So once we begin to do these things, obviously people will be forced to be whipped in line. And when that happens, we get on. Also, if you want people to set up plants that will produce these biodegradable materials, let's look at our land tenure system. And I know that a lot of Ghanaians will side with me on this. You can buy a land, get it titled, but it is not yours. You'll be there one day and somebody will come claim ownership, they'll break it down. Can we sort out all those issues? When we do that and business people see the need to do these things, trust me, they will scale up. And once they come in, it will be so many in the system that we won't struggle with getting people to use the right ones, because it's the norm, it's the right thing to do. Morally, it saves lives, right? So people will be inclined to go with it. But if we still have our old attitude of, oh, I had a son, Bibia and Sisa, we will still be here.
Thank you very much. It means that biodegradable packaging is doable. It can be achieved. Thank you very much. In your last statement, I think you talked about attitude. So let me now move on to my youth activist. We want to see how we can shift consumer attitude away from single-use plastics. How can the youth and the grassroots organization be empowered to drive this kind of behavioral change around plastic consumption and disposal?
Single-use plastics, it means that we would have to provide a cheaper alternative.
Right.
Because as it stands now, the plastics, that is currently the cheapest. Do more of education. We would have to go back to the old ways of doing things. I remember I had to go a little to know that the tanker system that we knew was even town council. I think that, yes, that system was very, very effective, because then people could relate to measures. So if we could go back to that system where we use our own parameters to set the rules for people to start shifting their mindset, it would work. But then when we make the policies up here, bringing it down, people cannot relate. If we go back to that system, then people can then understand, okay, so this is the sanction for doing things this way, and then this is also, if we can also now introduce more of incentives instead of punishment for, aside the punishment, let's also look at incentives. Those who are doing the right things, what kind of benefits are they getting? Then those who are not doing the right thing, what is their punishment? A very clean society, and then we can also then advocate for a biodegradable alternative, which is the paper. Whilst you are also advocating for that, let's also understand that whilst you are rooting for a sustainable approach, it will also come at a cost. Deforestation will also come in. How can we manage that so that whilst we are shifting to a more positive direction, practical in the approach? It's time for us to call for the operation tanker system to come back. Yes.
You want that system to come back?
Yes. The tankers was very, very effective.
It looked like all my panelists says it should come back. Some says no.
Okay. Maybe they have another reason.
Right, we'll get there. When we get to Prof will tell us why it is a no. Right, in practical terms, that is what he said. Now let me go to my engineer, who's coming from the Jospon group of companies. Now, Ghana is gradually, or we want, as a nation, to shift towards a circular plastic economy. I know Jospon has models that have been implemented in other parts of the world. How can we, as a country, own what Jospon has introduced or has?
Journey of Jospon, as you rightly said, we've been in a system for a while. We've been able to test and prove the reliability of a linear business model. We evolved from the linear business model into the recycling business model. And as you speak, we've been able to test and prove in the aspect of the circular economy model. To mention a few, which I think with all these models I'm talking about, rather they've not been done anywhere else than in the country, Ghana here. We had our first plant established in the Greater Accra region in the year 2012, and that was to ensure that the material managed within the treatment facility. And so over the years, out of that experience, we've been able to improve on other systems to ensure that we have a much more robust circular economy models that has been decentralized as we speak. Now we have them across the regions. That is named as the ARECOPs. These ARECOPs are more or less community-based kind of models. They are designed to fit the waste characterization of those communities and therefore considering the plastic situations as well. Now, these models are to help the communities within which they are established to safely transport their waste, at least we reduce contamination. Because we all know that the plastics, what happens is that because of the any kind of material they get in contact with, if not properly handled. And so the system that we have are these various communities across the country, they ensure that plastic are safely segregated. Now, we've spoken about the most troublesome one, the single use, and then that of the PET, which is difficult to manage. We are fortunate to announce here that we, in partnership with the Global Environmental Facility Canada and that of the UNIDO, and then being monitored as we speak now by Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, we are implementing a model which is under the Ghana Circular Economy Framework for Plastic Management in Ghana. We are implementing a solution for the single-use plastics. And this is going to last for the next 24 months. We want to test that model too and see how best we could add value to that. And so we are doing that in partnership with the NEPLAS. NEPLAS is in partnership with one of our facilities in Accra. We also, in the same light, are addressing the issue of the PET bottles. Before our facility, we hardly could hear about anybody talking about having a solution to the PET bottle. What I used to know is that they do export of them to other advanced countries where they have them converted into yarn, which now becomes a cloth or a fiber for them in producing sportswear, rain jackets, and other things that are being used. The project that we are running is also in line with that. And what we are doing is that we are ensuring that we collect them. The GM made mention of it when they were showing the video. In terms of what this yarn becomes a raw material to our textiles industry. As we speak, conversation is ongoing with local textile industry. There are a lot of models that over the play are all proven systems that have the capacity to be even now exported to other countries. We'll be hearing the news. Countries like Lagos. Lagos is really keen. We've signed a contract. We are going to get into business with them. We have not less about 19 other countries that are also speak. It's a model for Ghana to uphold with dear and high esteem to ensure that we protect it because of their business. I'm happy to hear that the company where you work with, they have a serious protection from the government, helping them in terms of finance. But do we have such a situation in our country? And that is one of the things that I think the models, as already said by Dr. Yadom, is there. We have all the models, but we need commitment from government, from players and other stakeholders so that they become sustainable and drive the agenda that we are all pursuing, environmental integrity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer. With the kind of height you've achieved as a group, I wish you will link up with our younger generation so that we can get more of these people coming up with their own kind of companies that also help us deal with this plastic crisis. I'll be very grateful if your company will link up with most of these innovation and incubation hubs we have in our universities that can easily help solve this problem. Now, back to you, Prof. You said you disagree with the coming back of the town council system. Now, before that, Prof, you will talk about that, but you will continue with this. I hope you are aware that some of your students that you taught are part of those who causes this plastic crisis. I hope you are aware of that. Now, to continue with where you left with,
what do you think are some of the reforms that will be needed as far as environmental science education is concerned to better prepare the student in our universities, in our tertiary institutions to tackle this plastic crisis with an interdisciplinary approach?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that our students, we do graduate students, PhD and masters, we already have an agreement, an MOU with Just One Group. So our students come and do internships with them. So I would like us to go to the basics. I believe there's a young lady, a singer. The name has just slipped my mind, but she, the name will come to me sooner or later. Why can't I remember the name? Anyway, the way we need to approach this as a nation is that we need to reduce the amount of plastic we import, okay? Because if we don't manufacture plastic, we import pellets and create plastic products from them. Our keynote showed how to replace some of the use of plastic, and then we have to recycle. But going to your substantive question about education, again, it's been said here, you need to catch them young. I unfortunately have traveled too much, but you go to a place like Singapore, you drop something on the floor, a child will come and pull your trousers, oh, you've dropped something, because they know it is not done. Our friend who is based in the UK, his behavior in the UK is very different than his behavior in Ghana. The things we do as Ghanaians in Ghana, we travel to the US, and what I'm trying to say is that education is there. It's just that we don't practice what we preach. So catch them young. We need to look at the human dimension. That is that behavioral change, the joining up of the artificial divide between social science and natural sciences. If we leave out the human element, because it's all about mindset, and I've said this on a public platform before, that we have some mental problems in Ghana. If we think we can be doing the same thing over and over again, and we're going to get a different result. So we are talking about a complex problem. So there are elements coming from technology, from science, from culture, and so forth. If you have a complex problem, but as your question related to, we train our people into siloed thinking. What we have done at our institute is that we insist that 1/3 of every thesis be based in social sciences. So you have the biophysical, yes, you want to prove heavy metals are this, so what? What does it mean to the community? Why should it be of value? What is the use of your research in development? So we have tried to do this, and we've been doing this difference, but I'll land on one last point, because I know you're time constrained. I don't think we use social media sufficiently. If you want to catch them young, I see nobody around the age of 12, 11 here. We need to reach out. We have to be more proactive. We have to use methods of communication that the young people understand. That's why I started off by this, Deborah, Sister Debbie. She made that song, Reduce, Replace, Recycle, in terms of plastic. So we need to be more proactive. It is not the young people who are the problem. It is the old people who have created the problem by poor decision making 20, 30 years ago. When my students ask, we need to solve this, I say, no, that's not my problem any longer. I'm on my way out. By the time 2050 comes, where am I going to be? It's your problem. You have to come with the innovation of how to fix it, because you are the people who are going to live with it. So let's have such events, but at school know that research we have done, I believe everybody here knows what shito is. Hot Ghana pepper sauce. It's made with anchovies and sardines. About 80 fragments of microplastic in a single fish. So we take olonka, we grind it, because those, good luck. Thank you.
This is interesting. The revelation is very interesting. Anyway, it looks like we are pressed of time, so we can't get... Yes, I'll come back to you, Doc, because I have a very important question for you. Because we know of impact investors, we know of venture capitalists. How do you think these people can be encouraged to fund scalable solutions in plastic waste management, and more especially circular economy startups?
So I think your question has partly been answered by some of my panelists in terms of making sure you create an enabling environment for businesses to operate. A case in point is Jaspon. Now, Jaspon has led the way. When they started some years ago, we used to call them Bola Sujata. I don't know whether you remember. And now they've created a multi-billion-dollar business that is enviable and employing a lot of people. Now we have seen that an opportunity has been created, and government wake up to say that we want to decentralize waste management. I think otherwise. I think waste management is where it is capital intensive, that you cannot easily walk there and start a business. You see, the idea of decentralization, as much as it sounds good, this is where we are going to land. These guys will come and collect the refuse from our homes, then they'll dump it in your neighborhood. Because they don't have the capacity, they don't have the resources, they don't have the cars, it cannot be. We should even get to the point that we can track where you are taking it to. This tricycle in our neighborhood, they are using our high road and they dump it even sometimes in the middle of the road. In as much as there could be a problem, the agreement between Jaspon and the government, there could be a problem that needs to be looked at. If the salary is decentralized to take it to people who don't have the resources to do, I think there's a major problem. Yes, we cannot allow one person to control the value chain. So is government prepared to support other investors to come in there? Somebody has built the capacity over the year for Ghana. And whatever has been bought, the investment that has gone in is for, because there was a certain agreement. I have built capacity. And you said, no, I'm not going to give you the contract again. What am I going to do with all the cars I have bought? What am I going to do with all the skills and the people that I've employed to manage that particular sector? When we do that, and I'm an investor sitting somewhere that I can come into the country, indirectly you are telling me the political thing will show some form of leadership. And again, we don't even have a central data point. Those earlier speakers, some were quoting Ghana Plastic at around 840,000, and the minister says 1.1. The two of them are all correct. The one who quoted from 840 was quoting from Ghana Audited Report. The Auditor General conducted a research on the plastics, and the minister was quoting from UNDP. So it seems that UNDP collect better data than us. Are we prepared? Prof mentioned the fact that we can even estimate around about 35 million sachet water being drunk a day. Are we prepared to build a system to collect data to inform policy? We don't have anything like that. So if we are serious about creating an environment, because if I'm an investor coming in, I want to know the system to collect that. I'm even thinking that the ministry will be looking at setting up a recycling plant or a recycling distribution or collection center in every district. One district, one collection point. Because in our homes, we try to do waste segregation. You segregate the other waste from the plastic. Then nobody counts for it. It's sitting down. So the idea may look nice. Oh, we are doing this. We are trying to buy back. But how convenient is it for me to sell my plastic bottles in my home? Because there's nothing close in my area. So I give it to the ordinary guy who comes to collect the rubbish. Then he put them together. So what have I done? I come back to square zero. So we should be serious about the things that we talk about.
Thank you very much, Doc. Very grateful. Okay, right. We'll give Prof just a minute.
Just a minute. The Tankasi, the sanitation officers, they operate based on a concept of fear. You're afraid, so you act. But that is not how a country develops. A country should develop from wanting to do it, not because of they're afraid of what is going to happen to them if they don't. Even when you're training a dog, you train with reward and incentive, not beating. You train a child with incentive, not fear of punishment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think our panelists deserve a big round of applause. I think they deserve it. They deserve it. They deserve it. Thank you very much. We will now move on to question and answer. So please, our MCs, please help us with a microphone. So we'll pick the first 3 questions, and you tell us who you are directing your question to. The first 3. Right, so all those who want to ask questions, we would like you to form a queue here. One at this end, one at the other end.
And please, let's keep our questions very brief as we are behind time. Thank you.
So we take the first 3.
Thank you so much. My brief question is that how can we support the youth? From the field, having worked with Zoomline for a long time, you know we are always on the field. And we used to say that the youth are not interested in waste management. We're having elderly people coming to join our work. But you go to the field, you realize that the youth are interested. They want to collect and do it their own way. You come to recycling, and you realize that the youth are everywhere trying to collect the plastics and make some money out of it. But there's no support for them. That is as much as we can see. So if we want to promote recycling to the utmost best, I believe the youth are the key. How can we provide
Thank you very
the
much.
necessary support for them?
Your question is well noted.
Thank you.
We'll move to the next person.
Mine is about the alternatives. We are looking at the plastic alternatives and the non-plastic alternatives. I would like to be careful about the plastic alternatives, where a lot of research is being done and alternatives are being proposed and being practiced. The issue of the also biodegradable substance additive that be added so that it can break down whenever it's exposed to UV light. All these alternatives, let's be cautious, and anytime we say let's be cautious about it, we shouldn't get offended, because breaking down of plastic is not the same as what? The plastic being degraded. It's just broken to smaller pieces. That's why we are having this microplastic in the bladder and some other parts of the human body. So let's also be careful in case we look at some of these alternatives and we say, oh, it's also doing more harm than good. We shouldn't get offended. Let's go into more research and see whether it is true that the results that we are picking, they are true, authentic results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a contribution. Right.
Thank you very much. I would like to have a little clarification with respect to what you said, please.
Dr. Wachiyado.
Yes, please.
Because
you made mention of decentralization being a problem. But you raised a very good point that Jospon started small. before it has now started big like that. So please, let's not discourage the small tricycles and the rest that are filling in the gaps of where the big companies cannot reach. Instead of working together, calling them informal or other names will not help. Find a way and work together so that we can have a common solution. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. So he'll react to that. But before that,
should we take all questions and then we...
Right. Right, so we can take all the questions.
Good.
Thank you so much. My name is Edmond. Thank BFT for this event. My question is that somebody, the first woman who came to do the presentation talk about the implementation of our academic institutions.
Right.
I would like to suggest to BFT that the next time they should bring the Ministry of Education and see how best they can inculcate some of these into the academic curriculum so that the children can pick it from the onset. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that contribution. So we take the last two.
Okay, good afternoon once again. My name is Osu Apia from Crusaders of Change, Ghana. I'm happy once again to be here, and I think I like the theme too much because Environmental Sustainability Summit, we all know that though plastic waste is one of the biggest challenges we are facing in Ghana, but not only that, today when you go to our rural communities, our water bodies are being polluted, our fishes are being affected, and everything. Climate change has become a thing that we are also experiencing. So when it comes to this Environmental Sustainability Summit, what I want us to understand is that we shouldn't only concentrate on the plastic waste as such, but when it comes to the environment in general, we should all concentrate. Because in my hands, we Crusaders of Change Ghana, what we are doing is to embarking on trees planting, educating our children on the importance of maintaining clean environment, green environment, and also educating them as well. So I believe that if we can protect our future, it is a collective responsibility for all of us to protect the environment. And I think during question, and some people make suggestions that we have to educate our children so that they can, adopt that attitude. But if you are a father or a mother and your children is doing something and you say that, oh, I have to make you understand that what you are doing is not good. But me, as a father or mother, I am destroying the environment. So definitely you cannot educate the person. So I believe that what you as a parent, what you will do is what the children is going to learn. So let's all encourage ourselves. Let's all educating ourselves so that we can adopt and protect the environment. Please don't mind my English because my uncle Akrobeto is my learner friend. So don't mind my English.
Thank you
so
very much. Thank you very much. You encouraging us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is George Atu, and I'm the CEO of Atuman Group of Company. We are talking about plastic waste, but we don't think about cocoa pots, which is destroying in our, especially cocoa sectors. Cocoa pot is one of the waste item that we need mostly to do fertilizer, to support our cocoa farmers, and not only the cocoa farmers, all the agri sector. So my question goes to the panelists. You are the top. You are the universities. You are the other sectors. And Minister for Natural Resources and Environmental, anyone who is here, I want to put this question to them and look up to that sector very serious because our fertilizer is almost imported from outside.
And it's inorganic.
Yes. But whilst we have organic product here, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll take the question from the last person. I think the only lady asking a question.
All right, thank you. And thanks to the B and FT for having this program. And as someone said, I would like the organizers to also go into the schools so that they can get the change agents from the basic schools so that can help all of us. And I want to find out from the panelists, how can you help us to segregate our waste? because I was doing it in my home. But when the refuse collectors came, they will dump everything together, and they have been sending it like that. So I also thought that, let me just leave it like that. So I don't know how you can help us, especially just one, to help us. And again, a suggestion is, when I go to the market, I get a lot of polythene rubbers, and I bring it home, and I don't know what to use them for. Please, when we buy some, bring waste into the system again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I will allow the last lady to ask this question.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Drew Villas. I work with the Just One Group as well. This is not a question. It's just to let everybody know about the recycling plants we have across the country. Like Dr. Glenn said, we have one in every region, and we have one in the Greater Accra. In fact, we have two in the Greater Accra, one in Ajen Kotoku, in the outskirts. And I'm inviting everybody. We have a campaign called Waste is Gold. I'm told we shouldn't call it waste. But I think it was for us to emphasize that waste is gold. And when we say gold, it means it's valuable. It's a campaign that we're pushing. We're inviting everybody. If you're interested, come and see what we turn municipal solid waste, which is the organic, plastic, and metal, into useful products. UPPR is one of the products, off-takers that we have as well that we sell to, and they make dustbins from it, so it's full circular. So please, you're invited. All right.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all the questions. We'll now turn to our panelists. Who would like to start?
Okay, let me take the one on decentralization. Also ask a question that can we decentralize our oil industry so that we can encourage startups to go in there? Can we encourage people to go into, let's say, the hydropower and also build something to encourage initiatives and innovation? We need to understand the cycle of an industry. You see, up until, let's say, Just One came, we wouldn't have concentrated on plastic or waste as an industry. An industry has been built up to a certain standard. I think what we need is the regulation to reduce the monopoly of Just One, so that Just One will not control, decentralized to let a certain group come in who do not have the capacity. My concern is the capacity, because we already have them working in different areas, in our communities. They take this waste and they dump it. There's an animal research in around Adenta. When you go there, huge part of their forest, of their land, is used for dumping, because these guys come to collect it and they dump it in the neighborhood. Is there a way that all those recycling, we can coordinate them properly? Is there a way that the one that has built expertise can onboard these tricycle guys to ensure that someone is actually monitoring them? If we go to Lagos, let's say Apapa area where they have the WAFs, they have all these kind of informal waste segregation, and you can go and see the problems there for yourself. And I think it is more to that Just One has signed an MOU with Lagos State to help them manage their waste. So we need to come to the point to accept that the industry has grown beyond what it used to be. And if you don't have a certain capital, there's a barrier you need to overcome. The same way you cannot go into oil sector with about 100,000 CDs to start a business. In the same way, you cannot just go into the waste sector. We should respect it as such, and we should make regulation work. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Edward, Deborah would like to answer one of the questions for us, so please take it up.
Yeah, thank you very much
We'll
for the questions. I would like to take the question one. How can we support the youth get into waste management? I feel like it is the right thing to do in trying to drive all these employment avenues. But then, from what Doc just said, capacity is important. So, apart from my normal day job, I equally run a consultancy and a charity. Earlier this year, I approached a group of youth who have been doing fantastic work in the waste sector, trying to clean up some parts of the country and all of that. I thought that was a laudable idea. But I noticed that though they are trying to solve a problem, in a way they were creating bigger problems. Why I'm saying this is, as I said, if you categorize waste, it belongs to what we call COMA, control of major accident hazards. Every waste sector is a high-risk sector. It is not a sector where you just get in and start running, no. I noticed that the guys didn't have nose masks, but they were cleaning gutters. They didn't even have Wellington boots, but they were in gutters. Ordinary reflective vests wasn't present. Hand gloves were missing. What did I do? I decided to offer them a 2,000 pound course for 10 people, free of charge. Free of charge. I sent them the course workbooks, so I would train them. Because I'm not based here, I asked that, can we do the certificates to you? Guess what they told me? They can't sit on Zoom for 4 hours. How do you expect such people to develop their capacity to compete or to get into such a sector? I now tried again to say that, oh, can we break the 4 hours down into 2 hours over 2 different days? Maybe, if that works for you. That message was sent to the person on the 4th of April. Today is 24th of June. No response. So much as we are all up for supporting the youth, get jobs, create decent living and everything else, it is extremely important that venturing into such a space, if you don't have the capacity, the right mindset, although you are solving a problem, you will end up carrying a lot more problems with you outside. Now, at my workplace, we do a lot of waste from human beings. I'm sure most of you know when human beings die, we have some mercury in us. So every crematory in die, you'll find about 6 ashes, not the entire bunch, but some of them will come to our side to treat. So if you don't have the right PPE in place and you are working in such a facility, you don't have the right processes, protocols of safety and things in place, what will happen to you is that at the end of the day, you are carrying sickness home without knowing. So the youth who are interested in getting involved in the waste sector, fantastic idea. Please start by finding senior mentors who will guide your steps. You need to learn the rules of the trade. You need to learn the ropes. If you don't get that right, if you don't set that firm foundation before you get involved in this, it will be chaos.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deborah. Thank you very much. Now, let's go to Prof before we come back to Engineer for the question on how to segregate waste. So, Prof.
Yeah, well, that was where I was going to start from. I don't see the lady who asked the question. Basically, there are 3 main waste streams. You have the plastics, you have the organics, and you have the others. The organics, what I do at home is I have a compost pit. They don't go to the dustbin. The plastics, we have a big plastic bag, polythene sack, where we put all our PET bottles, plastic bags that won't be used, and that is the house helps bonus. So we pack them. What she does with them, she claims she gives it to somebody at the church, and the church uses the money for church. I don't know. But the important thing is we have a system now where we create our own organic compost from organics. We have a value chain addition to the bottles, and then what is left. So some weeks, our dustbin is maybe a quarter. It's a half. I have to reduce the size of the dustbin, but they'll still charge the same anyway. The other thing that I want to speak on is, I think is the gentleman from EPA. You are talking about we have, I'm the chair of the Technical Committee for Ghana Standards Authority on Environment. And some years ago, we approved a standard on oxy-biodegradable additives. It was very controversial because, as you alluded, some of the breakdown products from the plastic are actually worse than the plastic. But they're using an international standard. But I'll tell you that while we are developing that standard, we had groups of people from the UK and from the Middle East who came to explain at their expense why Ghana should adopt the international standard as a local standard. Because they know the amount of money in plastics in the first place. But what I'm saying is that we are already doing that for the single-use plastics. So a lot of the plastic bags, if you...
Thank you very much, Prof. We'll now go to engineer and then we take our last.
To what Prof just said with regard to the waste segregation, in terms of the segregation categories that we made clear. In terms of trying to trade, we see gold in waste. So we go around chasing waste. So we have set up a subsidiary who are basically in charge of going after these waste. And they are just a phone call away from wherever your segregation might be. It's a nationwide program. And the essence is to trap this waste wherever they are. Segregated waste in terms of plastics, paper, metal, cardboard, come to that particular point and pick it. So we have a system or a facility mining that particular activity when we talk about plastic waste. My background currently is more of the climate activity. And so if we look at waste, where we are looking at as plastic waste, we are looking at afterlife condition. But before the material arrives at that point, it has gone through a series of activities, processes that in effect had generated a lot of waste. We're talking about the fossil fuel plastic end products, which is purely petroleum and natural gas. We talk about the use of resources to get what we are now very safe to use, find it very affordable and convenient. And so the value chain within the period at which it was extracted, processed, until we are using, a lot of waste has already been generated. So I'm pleading to all of us to rethink in trying to reduce the usage of material, particularly plastic material. By so doing, we are reducing the extraction. And by that, we are saving ourselves from massive greenhouse emission. And to be honest, the impact of this greenhouse emission in our environment is more heat. More heat means more crops dying. More crops dying, more lives are being starved. And issues of the, our agricultural land precipitation occurring. So we are unable to get the needed yield. And so the plastic, as we are looking at it at the end, I would entreat that we rather rethink, we try to reduce, and then to repurpose. By so doing, our day-to-day action would help us to create a very sustainable environment that we all intend to have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, engineer. So we'll take the last comment from Anakosia.
Okay, so I would like to say that as young people, if we want to get involved in the waste value chain, I think that we should be intentional about building our capacity. We should be very passionate about doing voluntary works, because the future that we are looking at belongs to us. If we have not been intentional about building our capacity from the voluntary stage, but then we want to just be called to the table, it won't work that way. But then if we go to, we learn from the bottom, from the people who have experience already, when it's time for us to take up the mandate, we would be leaving positive footprint for other people who would also come after us, because we would have built our capacity and learned well, and then be able to make the right kind of positive impact that we want in our site. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we put our hands together for our panelists? I think they've done so much well. Thank you very much. So let me use this opportunity to also thank you very much for coming, our panelists, and to all of you who have been with us. We are very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, let's have a quick group picture.
Let's have CEO join. Our director from EPA kindly join the group picture. If our rep from BOSS is here, kindly join the group picture as well. You want some music? So whilst they are taking the picture, I understand we'll go on a quick break. Sandra, kindly brief us on that.
Yes, so we'll take a very short break. Kindly grab something outside and then come back to your seats. Right after that, we will be having our last presentation. Then we'll call it a day. So the break,
Yes, so we'll be having a quick break. Let's grab a little food and come back in just 15 minutes. And that would have our last presentation, which is very brief. And so it will be the last one. And so can we grab something? I think when you go outside on my left, you're right, but on my left, there will be ashes there to direct you on my left. And then you grab something and we come back here in the next 15 minutes to wrap up with the event. Thank you very much. So we can start going to grab it. And just a quick reminder, if you are going out, kindly watch your step at the entrance so that you can gently go out and gently come back in. Yes, please. Speakers and panelists, please, Siri, let me take you to where you are supposed to grab your. Yes, please. Please walk towards my madam here. She would direct you to where you could grab your food item and come.
Africa, yes, it's so bad. We need change. Africa, we need change. Let's change our mentality. Africa, we need change. Politicians, yeah, Musisa Musubai. Africa, yes, it's Subai. We need Africa, we need change. Let's change our mentality. Africa, we need change. Politicians, yeah, Musisa Musubai, Africa, yes, it's Subai. We need change, change. Africa, we need change. Let's change our mentality. Africa, we need change. Aha! Musisa Musubai, Sisa Subai. Politicians, yeah, Musisa Musubai, Sisa Subai. Africa, eh, yes, Sisa Subai, Sisa Subai. We need change, 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 change. Africa, we need change. Let's change our mentality. Africa, we need change. Musisa Musubai, Sisa Subai. Politicians, yeah, Musisa Musubai, Sisa Subai. Africa, yes, Sisa Subai, Sisa Subai. We need change, 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 change. Africa, we need change. Let's change our mentality. Africa, we need change. Politicians, yeah, Musisa Musubai, Africa, yes, Sisa Subai, we need change, 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 change. change our mentality. Africa, we need change.
Welcome back from the quick break. We will now have our final presentation, and we welcome Mr. Yawata Ahin, WASH Technical Specialist. He will present on catalyzing circular solutions, building local systems to end plastic pollution in Ghana. Please, let's give him a round of applause. Please, you can do better.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me, first of all, thank the organizers, Business and Financial Times, for this very, very important dialogue. For those of us in civil society, we believe in talking because the day we become silent about things that matter. And so we will continue to talk. And whilst we are talking, we will hope that the people who must ensure that things work do so. And that is why we continue to talk. The danger in presenting at this time is that, many people have come. Many speakers have already spoken. And so they would have said everything. But that is also good for you because your work becomes much easier. Yes, and so if I end up repeating, it's permissible. Just allow. Thank you very much. I am also happy to see some of our water, sanitation, and hygiene colleagues from Jospon Group, from AMA, and from the other places. Good to see you all. Final comment before I proceed with my presentation. I consider plastic waste as part of the broader waste management conundrum that we have to deal with. And it's part of sanitation. But there is one profound quote by one Deepak Chopra, an American philosopher, who said that sanitation is a physical measure which has probably done more to increase human lifespan than any kind of drug or surgery. And there is no drug or surgery that you can use to replace the potency of improved sanitation. And so let's go to the topic, catalyzing circular solutions. Catalyzing circular solutions, building local systems to end plastic pollution in Ghana. Let's proceed. First of all, let's know that in the face of escalating plastic pollution that clogs drains, as have been said by previous speakers, and contaminates waterways, and endangers public and ecosystems, public health and ecosystems, we need to act, and act very fast. We have no time to wait. And so accelerating circular solutions, for me, will enable us to break away from the outdated take, make, dispose model and build a future where plastics are not just pollutants, but plastics are resources which will fuel innovation, resources which will fuel equity, resources which will drive job creation, and resources which will ensure environmental renewal. So upon this that I think that we should all adopt a circular system, the circular approach, a circular economy. I mean, we have already been treated to this, so I won't bore you with it. Of course, it's about 1 million tons of plastic waste annually. Out of the 7.5 or so million tons of solid waste that we generate in the country, about 1 million of it is plastic waste. And less than 10% is recycled, of course. But we should also know that the single-use plastics dominate the landscape. And here we are talking about the water sachet, the takeaway containers, among others. And in Ghana, it's amazing that even when you buy one sachet of water, they will by all means that some of these things must stop. As civil society, our job is to remove the barriers through such dialogue and also to influence policies. And so everything I'll be saying is geared towards ensuring that policymakers are able to act and act decisively. So why do we have the linear models? Why have they failed? Please go on. Why have the linear models failed? You know, the linear model, popularly known as the take, make, dispose model, popularly known, is a traditional economic system where resources are extracted, made into products, and used. And once they are used, they are discarded as waste. The take, make, dispose models have already overwhelmed our traditional systems, and they are not able to cope with these systems. And they are not able to cope because of a number of factors. Lack of infrastructure, a weak enforcement of policies, limited incentives, and public apathy, lack of support from the public. And I was happy when somebody mentioned behavior change. It is something that we really, really need to prioritize. Moving on, we will contrast it with a circular economy, which aims to reduce waste by keeping materials in use for a longer period. Let's move on, please. For a longer period. And so with the circular economy model, you want to ensure that every product, what you may call every waste, is a resource. It's a resource which can be packaged and reused. And that is what we are talking about here. Let's move on. So, as a preferred option, The opportunities under the circular economy are based on 4 principles, as we may be aware already. I mean, the 4 principles are redesign, reuse, recycle, and renew. The renew has become the new kid on the block, where you want to focus on using renewable resources and energy sources. And so these are the preferred options in terms of the circular economy. Let's proceed. Now, what are the key fundamentals? For what I have talked about to succeed, the fundamentals to succeed, certain conditions are required. And those conditions, for me, are non-negotiable if we have to succeed. Let's move on. Okay, good. Let's stay here. So, local system strengthening. That is number 1. If we are unable to strengthen the systems at the local level, it will take us years, if not centuries, to be able to overcome the hurdle posed by the linear model. And that is why it's important that we engage in community-level plastic buyback schemes. And I think it is done in even advanced countries. The buyback schemes are effective. We have to ensure that we partner with the informal waste pickers. In fact, somebody made a point that they are filling a void, and they are serving a very useful purpose. And we can't just allow them to operate without regulation. And that's why it's important that we bring them through cooperatives or any digital platform so they can operate professionally. And then also local entrepreneurship in upcycling and plastic innovation have to be adopted. And then the second fundamental has to do with policy and private sector synergy. Can we move on? Policy and private sector synergy. Here, I'm happy, again, we have already talked about the extended producer responsibility. In Ghana, I mean, we have so many producers. We have so many importers. The responsibility for ensuring that plastics are effectively managed post-use still rests with those producers and the importers. And it's important that we enforce this. And that's why I say that in Ghana, most of our problems are not just about a lack of knowledge. It is just about the inaction. And of course, we also have to understand that our democratic structure also ensures that things are quite delayed. But we need to enforce this as quickly as possible. Once we are able to make it the responsibility of the producers, I think that we will overcome this challenge. And then also we talk about tax incentives for companies recycling and using recycled products. If we are able to introduce such incentives, I'm sure that many people will want to go into this. Parliament has already passed a certain law, okay, which requires that importers and producers pay a certain amount of money into a fund. The last time I checked, the fund had accumulated in excess of billions of cedis. And yet, I have not seen or heard any disbursement from that fund to any private company willing to go into plastic recycling and waste management. I think that we need to follow up and get answers from Parliament why this has not happened. It's important. Again, for corporate responsibility and innovation, we need to pursue this. And with retailers, food vendors, brands using compostable or refillable packaging, we need to support them. Once we are able to support them, then you will see that many more people will be going into this venture. And then the plastic will no more become a waste. It will even be in short supply, where people will be chasing. Now, when you go to Lavender Hill, remember that some time ago, people were dumping raw feces into the sea until somebody went to court and secured a court injunction that nobody should be able to dump raw feces there again. Now, there are two companies that have been established along that enclave, which are competing to receive the feces. So they can process into very useful products, some into energy and supplying the national grid and getting good money out of it. And so somebody has said it is a waste to waste waste. You can't waste the waste. It's a resource now. Let's move on. So, what is our call to action? What is our call to action? And first of all, we need to prioritize and redesign. Prioritize and redesign. So where systemic circular solutions are prioritized over surface level fixes, we need to prioritize solutions that ensure that there are no waste at all, as compared to solutions that only engages in surface level fixes, and then the waste will continue to remain. And we also believe that we can completely end plastic waste if we design for reuse, if we incentivize recovery, and if we empower communities. We should be able to completely end the plastic waste. Let's move on. This is where my emphasis is going to be, where banning is an option. What should we do if banning becomes an option? And I'm happy that today we have heard not only from EPA, but also from the minister, attempts to ensure that in the not too distant future, there may be a ban, especially in single-use plastics. And other countries have done it successfully. And I believe that we have an even better capacity to be able to do this than they have done. So, when viable alternatives are not just available, but also affordable. So, if you want to ban, very good. If you want to ban, you have to ensure that viable alternatives are not just available, but are also affordable. Because you can't just ban and people will not have alternatives to use. So, it's important that we do that. Businesses and consumers should be able to access biodegradable packaging, paper bags and all that, reusable containers. And I have started using my own containers. So I have 2 containers in my bag. Wherever I go and I have safe water, I just refill so that you prevent this kind of waste. Because without alternatives, the ban can drive the illegal trade. And it can hurt informal livelihoods. And that is why it's important we take our time. So we don't rush through just because we want to ban. Let's move on. And so, before I come here, in Rwanda, the ban on plastic bags worked because alternatives were introduced very early. Very, very early. And these were supported by public education in schools, in churches, lorry parks, markets. They did that. It was also supported by very strong enforcement of laws and regulations. And that is one of the things we lack in this country: enforcement, compliance of regulation. And so if we have to follow their example, it means that we have to ensure public education, strong enforcement of laws and regulations. And where there are best practices, you don't reinvent the wheel. We have so many to learn from. And so we have no excuse not to do this. You have to also ensure that enforcement capacity exists. Enforcement capacity. And there must be clear enforcement mechanisms for the ban to work. And these mechanisms will include, for example, customs at the borders. Very key. Market monitoring. How well do we do that in this country? And then also empowered local government enforcement teams, ensuring that things are being monitored and enforced. Without some of these clear enforcement mechanisms, the ban can also become just symbolic and ineffective. And you don't want to have that. You want a ban that is not just symbolic, but very, very effective. The first time I went to South Africa, and I went to a mall, and I finished buying. I brought my things out from the trolley, and then I was waiting for them to put the things in the poly bag for me. The things were just lying down there. They were not putting them in a bag. So I reminded them that, please, I'm done. I have paid for it. Can you package it for me? He said, you want to buy paper bag? Otherwise, you don't have any plastic bag for you. Either you buy, and that is expensive. You buy, if you want the plastic, they will find one for you. But it's better not to even try it. So expensive. So you can have alternatives, which are paper bags, for you to carry your things away. And that is exactly what we need to do. Next. Now, we have to start from somewhere. And we have to ensure that we target specific problematic plastics. You can't just go all out because you want to ban. You have to ensure that you target, especially the thin plastic bags, the single-use ones. We can easily do away with them, and life will still go on. Sometimes the fear is that, how are people going to cope and all that? You try it. Once you begin it, you will know how to fix it as you proceed. If you don't start, it will be difficult. And then also the takeaway containers, the micro beads in the cosmetics. These are the things that we need to target. But we have to do this such that it doesn't also disrupt the essential plastics for medical and agricultural uses. It's important that you make exceptions out of it. For medical and agricultural uses, this should not disrupt the process. Now let's move on. It should also be coupled with public awareness campaigns, as I have already said. And that has been done elsewhere, and it's proven to be very effective. Because people need to understand why certain plastics are being banned. They need to understand. And they need to also understand how they can adjust. Once you are able to demonstrate to them that, yes, we are banning because of this and that, and it sinks, and they know that they can use these alternatives, I'm sure people will cope. Behavior change campaigns, very critical. In the media, market, schools, transport hubs, so that we are able to build public buy-in. If you are not able to get public buy-in, stop it. And it has been so with many of the policies that we have introduced as a country. One clear example is the e-levy. If you are not able to carry citizens along, they will forever deny you the public buy-in that you need for the policy to succeed. And again, it should be combined with incentives. Let's move on. It should be combined with incentives. Once you begin this project, you must ensure that there are tax breaks or reliefs for companies switching to eco-friendly packaging. Because it's not also easy to switch. Everybody will want to do the normal things where it is easy to operate. But if you want me to switch, because of the public good involved, it's important that we introduce some tax breaks or reliefs for companies switching. And also, we need to provide startup support for the very small businesses producing the alternatives. The alternatives. Because the alternatives are also key for the success of the project. So you should be able to incentivize these small businesses. And then also, it should be phased and coordinated across stakeholders. Yes, it should be phased and properly coordinated. Because the phased approach will allow industries and communities time to adapt. So you don't just decide that I have banned every plastic. No. You face it. This one succeeds, then you move to the other one. And this one succeeds, then you move to the other one. If this one is failing, you find a way to adjust and to come back to the path of righteousness, which is very important. Now, stakeholder consultation is key. And that is why sometimes it takes a very long time for this to be introduced anywhere, because you need to engage the right stakeholders, retailers, food vendors, waste pickers, and all of them have to, be engaged to ensure that the ban is practical and inclusive. You don't want to leave anybody behind. You want to carry everybody along so that implementation will be smooth. Now, let's conclude. These are only to trigger our consciousness so that we can have a certain renaissance to our sanitation and our waste management and plastic waste management. So for me, Ghana has a very good opportunity to build a transformative circular plastics economy. An economy that protects the environment, that creates sustainable jobs, and that promotes growth. Growth that leaves nobody behind. Sustainable growth. Sustainable growth. That is what we need as a country. And so realizing a truly circular economy will require certain actions. And those are the actions that, as a country, we are afraid to bold actions. Actions that are far-reaching, that are groundbreaking. And once we take them, people will come along. People will begin to see that, oh, after all, this was a good decision. But once you are afraid to take them, it will continue to haunt you. And the time to take those bold actions is now. So we should have intentional cross-sector collaboration. And I realize that in Ghana, we tend to work in silos. Our agencies, our departments. I don't know why, but it appears everybody wants to protect their comfort zone instead of working collaboratively with each other so we can generate solutions that are multi-sectorial. Because most of our challenges are not just pertaining to one department or agency. Most of the time, they are multi-sectorial. They cut across sectors. And so we need to learn to be able to work together as sectors, as agencies. The other point is that we need to ensure, I said it already, the enforcement of the EPR. The EPR is a big tool, a huge one in our hands, which we are not utilizing. And I think that once we begin to utilize it, it will serve us a very great deal, and we should be able to do that. We also need to re-engineer supply chains and find alternatives to single-use plastics. Supply chain. Across the entire spectrum of supply chain, we should be able to analyze, to be able to re-engineer so that we can find alternatives to the single-use plastics all around us. And then, finally, we need to empower the informal waste pickers and then see them as players in the recovery system. They are major stakeholders. And I'm sure for many of us here, if we should ask you, many of you are being served by these informal waste pickers. Is that not so? Many of us are using their services. And so it's important that we empower them, we support them, so they become a core component of the entire value chain. Now, my final thoughts. I'm saying that accelerating circular solutions will enable us to break away, as I've already said, from the outdated take, make, dispose model. It's so outdated that we can't do anything with it. Fueling innovation, job creation, and environmental sustainability. That is the way to go. Now, I can't come here and not say anything about World Vision Ghana. So World Vision was established in 1950. In Ghana, we were established in 1979. But we are a Christian relief, development, and their families and communities to ensure that they reach their fullest potential by tackling the root causes of poverty and injustice. And let me indicate that we have a certain program which we call the School Sanitation Solutions Challenge, where we engage school children across the country, every nook and cranny of this country. And then we engage them in a challenge. It goes through processes from essay writing to panel. You have to defend your essay before a panel. You have to ensure that you are able to design innovative solutions to the sanitation challenges around us and all that. And then at the grand finale, you have to demonstrate understanding of sanitation issues and how you can contribute to it. The winner is designated a child sanitation diplomat. And it will interest you to know that some of the children have attended global fora in the Netherlands, in Hungary, and all that, and have addressed world leaders on plastic pollution, sanitation, among others. Now, this is one way we are able to ensure that the children are also, right from the onset, introduced to the management of plastic waste, because it is one of the fundamental pillars of the challenge. And so I want to encourage you, wherever you are, the advert has been advertised. The advert has been placed in the junior graphic. Go look for it, circulate it, and let children everywhere write and participate in this challenge. Our vision for every child is life in all its fullness, and our prayer for every heart. And when I say every heart, it is you and I. Our prayer for every heart is the will to make it so. The will to ensure that every child has fullness of life. And it will also include managing our plastic waste effectively. Thank you very much.
Please, let's do it better.
Presentation. And let's have our sponsors take a picture with our CEO. So our sponsors, Boss, if we have rep from Boss here, Just Spawn, Access Bank, Unilever, the Bank Hospital, if we have their rep here, let's have you do a group picture. However, we've come to the end of today's summit, a brief but yet very impactful one. Come on, sir. Yes. Yes, please. World Vision. Yes, please. As sponsors, let's have you do the group picture. Here, the Bank Hospital, Unilever, Access Bank, Post, reps. Let's have a picture together. So like I was saying, this brings us to the end of today's summit. On behalf of the Business and Financial Times and our partners, I thank you all for being here. Let us carry today's insights and ideas into action at work, at home, and even in our communities. As we close, remember, sustainability isn't just for scientists or policymakers. It starts with everyday choices, like saying no to single-use plastic and yes to wash and that reusable bottle you've been ignoring for weeks. Sandra, what do you have for our guests?
Okay, so to officially close today's summit, I will invite Dr. Daniel Inimprempe, Director of Operations at the Business and Financial Times. Please, a round of applause.
Okay, so Dr. Enim has dedicated a part to me to do, and so that was what I just did. And maybe let's just reiterate that BNFT is really grateful, and it's yet the end of another Environmental Sustainability Summit 2025. For me, it's been very insightful, and like I mentioned the highlight, no problem, I could just mention the highlights again. We are carrying the insights and ideas into action and at work, our home, and our communities. A key highlight for me today have been that ensuring that we curb the plastic waste is not only for our policymakers, it boils back to individual action as well, behavioral change. And so whilst we live here, ladies and gentlemen, even in our offices, let's take the message there. And if you wish a friend was here to maybe listen to the discussion and he or she wasn't here, we streamed live on our Facebook. Kindly subscribe to the BNFT online on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube, and you can rewatch the conversation. Thank you very much. I am Juliet Selassie Ethepe, and it's been good doing this with you. And I did this with
Sandra Jewa Otu. Thank you.
Let's catch up. Let's link up on LinkedIn at Juliet Ethepe. Thank you.
Bye.